Chapter 50-45. She had always known. As long as he was by her side, he would definitely do his best to help her. No matter what the Jiang family's aristocrats were planning, no one could stop her and Dmo Xian from entering the devil domain. Along the way, Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian held hands and stuck together lovingly. In actual fact, they were vigilantly observing the surrounding environment. But the Jiang family's aristocrats had yet to make a move. Until night time, there were no other movements. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. They were just a short distance away from the entrance of the devil domain. Tomorrow, they would have to rush for a few more hours. Basically, they would be able to arrive. Second Elder Jiang had sent out signals so frequently previously that she thought he was extremely anxious. Now he came personally. But instead, there was no movement. Could it be that he was secretly harboring some bad intentions? Yiqing Luo's guess was indeed correct. As expected. Just as she asked everyone to rest on the spot. Suddenly, bamboo tubes with thick smoke were thrown out from all directions. About 10 over of them. The moment the bamboo tubes landed on the ground, a large amount of thick smoke gushed out and instantly filled the entire mountain range. In front of Yiqing Luo and the rest, it instantly turned into a vast expanse of white, unable to see the surrounding illusion clearly. Oh no! Qiao Yinyan's voice sank as he shouted sternly, "Gather together, protect Master Chao and Madam Chao." The sky was filled with thick smoke, white fog curled up, blurring everything around. How could the crowd not feel the strangeness in this? Their hearts were hanging in their throats as they widened their eyes, trying to determine the direction of the danger through the vast expanse of whiteness. "Cover your mouth and nose." Suddenly, a clear voice, in this atmosphere where they couldn't see the surrounding environment clearly, entered their ears. The few of them subconsciously followed the instructions. "Hold it well." Suddenly, a fair little hand stretched out in front of Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi used one hand to cover her mouth and nose, while the other hand was stuffed into a small bottle. A very pungent and rich medicinal smell came from the bottle. "This is..." "What?" The last two words were not out. Immediately after, they felt a gust of wind suddenly rise around them. The hurricane blew the sky full of smoke, causing it to sway in all directions. A pink figure could be vaguely seen moving through the thick smoke. "This thick smoke is poisonous gas." Qiao Yinyan's voice was heavy. "Madam Chao must have given you the antidote." "Antidote? This thing, it smells so bad, can it be drunk?" Yan Xiaoyi expressed her doubts. "Oh," a muffled groan came from the side. Then, Baiming Lulu lowered her voice, "Not good. Zi's body is too weak to withstand this kind of poison. Don't hesitate. Xiaoyi, give the antidote to Zi first." Qiao Yinyan instinctively took the medicine bottle from Yan Xiaoyi's hands. "Go!" Outside the thick smoke, a tyrannical shout resounded. In an instant, a large group of profound practitioners with majestic profound energy surged forward from all directions. At a glance, there were at least 40 people. Their heads were wrapped tightly with black cloth, leaving only a pair of bloodthirsty eyes. After rushing into the thick smoke, he waved the weapon in his hand at the few figures in the thick smoke. Crack, the weapon dropped. It plunged into a few figures. But the crowd didn't feel the feeling of a weapon piercing into their flesh. Instead, it was hard, as if something had bounced their weapons back. The few of them looked at each other, suspiciously retrieving their weapons. In the thick smoke, they fixed their eyes over there. Chapter 50-46. How could it be a few figures? It was clearly a few boulders. Boulders. A trace of astonishment flashed through the eyes of the large group of cultivators. After releasing the poisonous smoke, they were certain the group of youngsters were all in that direction. Because of the poisonous smoke, they were all rooted to the spot and no one dared to move. How did they turn into a few boulders? How was this possible? Come back after killing them. Second Elder Jiang said in a cold voice, and, that young couple, don't let them escape. Second Elder is indeed brilliant. Yan Jun flattered him and said, those brats are just a few brats after all. How could they compare to Second Elder's intelligence? This poisonous smoke enters their bodies through breathing. Once it enters their bodies, they won't be able to escape even if they sense something is wrong. Even those two kids won't be able to escape from Second Elder's plan. Second Elder Jiang was not moved by Yan Jun's flattery. He snorted coldly, his eyes filled with coldness. That couple was very strange. He could only come up with this plan. Take their lives when they are unprepared. No matter what method he used. As long as he achieved his goal, it was enough. Second Elder Jiang waited for a while. Seeing that there was still no response from within the poisonous smoke, he urged impatiently, hurry up. Bring out all the corpses. Yan Jun was still injured by Second Elder Jiang. Naturally, he could not charge into the poisonous smoke and fight with those cultivators. He could only continue to flatter him. The Jiang family is indeed the Jiang family. With just one move, you've taken care of the people who have been troubling Anshu Hall for many days. Suddenly, under the dark night sky, a girl's clear and melodious laughter entered their ears. Immediately, they felt a chill down their spines. Who is it? Yan Jun's expression froze. He immediately looked around with vigilance. Second Elder Jiang's expression darkened as well. He narrowed his eyes dangerously. I didn't expect that a dignified Jiang family aristocrat would need to use such despicable methods to deal with a few kids. The girl's soft voice was full of sarcasm. It rippled in the air. Yan Jun immediately recognized the owner of the voice, Twilight Rain. It was Twilight Rain. She didn't die. Yan Jun quickly looked at Second Elder Jiang. Second Elder, it's that young lady. Second Elder Jiang furrowed his white brows, and a ruthless killing intent appeared on his sinister face. So it turns out that you Jiang nobles are so cowardly. You're even afraid of us little brats, how laughable. The girl continued to mock, if this matter were to spread out, it would definitely be a joke for everyone. Are you sure you have the chance to spread the word? Second Elder Jiang's voice was cold and dignified, revealing a hint of cold killing intent. His expression was calm as he gazed at the end of the thick smoke. So what if you manage to escape? Your group of brothers are all in this elder's hands. Only this elder has the antidote for this poisonous smoke. Oh. Really? The young girl giggled again. Second Elder Jiang is really confident in yourself, but, it's a pity, Second Elder Jiang, you've already lost your sovereignty. Her smiling voice was soft and melodious. Second Elder Jiang's expression darkened. What do you mean? What I mean is, the young girl purposely dragged out the last syllable as she chuckled softly. A gust of wind came. Second Elder Jiang saw. Chapter 50-47. A slender figure in a pink dress was faintly discernible in the thick smoke. The sky was filled with thick smoke. Behind the young lady, an ethereal aura rose in spirals. It made the young lady look like a fairy who stepped on the clouds. Unparalleled beauty. Too close. Second Elder Jiang and Yan Jun could clearly see the young lady's delicate and lovely face. There wasn't a hint of panic on the young lady's face. Her slightly curved pink lips were like a blooming rose. Her eyes and brows were delicate and charming, yet they emitted an irresistible charm. It was indeed the young lady named Mu Yu. Miss Muyu. Second Elder Jiang said coldly, do you really think that you can walk out of this barren mountain today? She actually dared to swagger in front of him. This was too overconfident and overestimated herself. Or underestimated the Jiang family's aristocrats. Yiqing Luo's expression remained unchanged, her long and narrow eyes were frivolous as she carelessly hooked her finger. I feel that, Second Elder Jiang. Today, I'm afraid, you won't be able to walk out of this barren mountain. Second Elder Jiang sneered, ignorant. His gaze turned cold as he shouted sternly, go. Capture her first. But the wind blew and the grass moved. The thick smoke spread. But not a single one of the Jiang family's secret guards that he brought along showed up. Second Elder Jiang finally felt that something was wrong. Instantly, his expression changed. You. What did you do? When he asked, his gaze fell on the young lady's crooked finger. After that, his pupils constricted abruptly, and he seemed to be stunned. On the young lady's slender finger, a ray of light could be vaguely seen, flickering. That was silver thread. The young lady's finger, hooked with a few strands of silver thread. Second Elder Jiang seemed to have reacted, his gaze suddenly turned towards the thick smoke. The direction of the silver thread. It was the thick smoke. In other words, the young lady used these silver threads to pin down all the Jiang family's secret guards that he brought along. What was going on? When did she do it? Second Elder Jiang, you're such a smart person. How could you be so stupid? The young lady's long and narrow eyes slightly curved, the arc at the end of her eyes was charming and charming. You obviously knew that I already knew of your existence, but still wanted to play dirty with me. Her fingertips suddenly exerted force. Amidst the thick smoke, there was a muffled groan of pain. Second Elder Jiang's face darkened. However, the girl in front of him smiled and said, but, playing dirty. I seem to be better at it. Second Elder Jiang's face darkened completely, like a gloomy cloud. His treacherous sinister eyes stared deadly at Yiqing Luo. What are you trying to do? Shouldn't I be the one asking you this? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and blinked her charming eyes, putting on a pure and innocent look. Second Elder Jiang traveled thousands of miles and followed us all the way, and then played such childish and despicable tricks. What is he trying to do? Second Elder Jiang spat angrily. Yiqing Luo's smile remained unchanged. It doesn't matter if you don't answer, anyway. Even if you don't answer, I know the reason. She raised her pink lips and smiled sweetly and calmly, unfortunately. Second Elder, you can't stop me. I'm going to the demon domain. When the words, infernal domain, were mentioned, Second Elder Jiang's sinister eyes indeed constricted for a moment. Yiqing Luo casually hooked her finger, as though she didn't care how many lives were entangled on the end of the silver thread that her finger hooked. To her, it didn't matter at all. She smiled brilliantly, and what I want to do in the infernal domain, Second Elder. You can't stop me. Chapter 50-48. You know about it. Second Elder Jiang's pupils contracted rapidly, his eyes widened as he stared at Yiqing Luo, as though he wanted to stare through the young lady. Yiqing Luo blinked innocently. I don't know anything. Second Elder Jiang was so angry that he gritted his teeth. If she didn't know, why would she specially go to such a dangerous place like the Devil's Domain? If she didn't know, why would she go to the Devil's Domain for? Yiqing Luo seemed to see through Second Elder Jiang's thoughts, as her lips curled. Since Second Elder Jiang has no intention to negotiate, then I'll have to trouble Second Elder Jiang and these secret guards that you brought, too. While the two of them were talking, the thick smoke had dispersed along with the hurricane, gradually revealing the scene that was hidden under the thick smoke. Countless of black-robed secret guards were stuck together in different postures. They were squeezed together, face to face. They didn't dare to move. As though their bodies were fixed in place. But if they squinted their eyes to take a closer look, one could tell. Those 30 over black-robed men were wrapped with a wisp of piercingly cold silver light, like a sharp blade filled with murderous intent, about to slaughter its prey. And, according to the original plan, those 4 young lads and a child who were poisoned by the poisonous smoke were standing on a mountain not too far away, looking down at them from above. They were fine. None of them were affected by the poisonous smoke. Could it be? Right from the start, this team of young lads already knew of his plan. Did he purposely wait here? Second Elder Zhang's heart thumped fiercely. Somehow he felt as though he had been schemed against. That black-haired young lady curled her pink lips, smiling sweetly. Second Elder Jiang, why are you so shocked? Don't tell me. You've forgotten, Dark Void Hall's headquarters, how? Was destroyed. Second Elder Zhang's expression changed abruptly. How could he possibly forget? Dark Void Hall's headquarters, thousands of Dark Void Hall cultivators, were all poisoned to death overnight. Now the entire Dark Void Hall was in a mess. Basically it could be said. Dark Void Hall's vitality was greatly damaged. If the Jiang family didn't send anyone to rebuild Dark Void Hall, Dark Void Hall could only disappear from the God realm. It really is you. Although he had long guessed that the poison in the Anshu Hall had something to do with the young girl before him, he didn't think too much about it. But the girl never admitted it. Now that he admitted it, Second Elder Jiang was still unable to calm down. The poison that this young girl had used was something that even the most experienced apothecary in the God realm would not be able to identify, much less refine an antidote. Not to mention this poisonous smoke. No wonder they were fine. Are you regretting? Yi Qing Luo grinned, but it's too late to regret. Second Elder Zhang's hands, which were hanging by his side, suddenly clenched into fists. He fiercely threw out a fist wind towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Soon after, when the dark light spread, with a move of his body, he turned around and ran. Holy shit! What was going on? You want to run now that you know you're dead? Did he not want the lives of all the hidden guards he had brought? Yi Qing Luo was dumbstruck by Second Elder Jiang's actions. Second Elder Jiang flew to a distance of 2 mountains before he turned his head to take a look at Yi Qing Luo. But he saw the black-haired young lady standing motionless on the spot, staring at him with her charming eyes, totally without any intention to chase after him. Her expression was very calm. Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-49. But, under this tranquility, Second Elder Jiang's heart vaguely had a strange feeling. Somehow, this was like the calm before the storm. What had he overlooked? What had he overlooked? Second Elder Jiang's heart was flustered. Suddenly, he thought of something. His pupils constricted. His fleeing footsteps also came to an abrupt halt, his eyes widened as he looked at the motionless young lady behind him. From afar, he could see clearly that the young lady's slightly upturned pink lips curled into a domineering and disdainful arc. Second Elder Jiang's heart sank heavily. He had overlooked. On that mountain stood 4 young men and women. But that mysterious blue-eyed young man was not among them. Then, where was he? Second Elder Jiang had heard from Third and Fourth Elder Jiang and a large number of Dark Void Hall's cultivators. That obedient and handsome blue-eyed young man's ability was above all the elders. He was able to break through the Dark Void Hall's cultivators' defense and save Long Yunzhan. So, right from the start, he was very vigilant against that blue-eyed young man. But earlier, he was not poisoned by Yi Qing Luo and her entourage. Even the secret guards he brought along were disrupted by the movement of his abdomen. He had completely forgotten about this matter. Bam! His thoughts stopped. Second Elder Jiang only felt a biting cold wind brushing against his face. Immediately after, his body flew through the air and landed heavily on the ground. Second Elder Jiang flipped over and stood up. The pain of his body being smashed made his footsteps wobble. When he gazed over, he saw a young man dressed in a bamboo-colored brocade robe standing in front of him. The young man was dressed in brocade with a jade belt, his features were picturesque, obedient and handsome as though he was a pampered young master. But unfortunately, that pair of azure blue gem-like clear eyes was emitting a terrifying vicious aura. Second Elder Jiang's wrist flipped and grabbed his long spear as he propped himself up, young Master Chao of the Chao family. Chao Yun. The young man didn't respond. A pair of icy blue eyes glanced at him indifferently. That gaze was high and mighty, as though the person he was looking at was a useless trash, not worthy of his attention. Second Elder Jiang could clearly feel the young man's contempt. His solemn and dignified face gradually distorted, revealing an ugly malevolence. Young Master Chao, if you dare to hurt me today, before he could finish his arrogant words. The youth's sleeves moved slightly. Profound light surged and boundless profound energy shot out. Second Elder Jiang wanted to hide. But when she met the young man's sapphire-like eyes, she felt a chill run down her spine. An invisible sense of oppression made him unable to move his entire body. No, that's not right. Why did those eyes feel so familiar? It was as if he had seen it somewhere before. Without any time to think, a tyrannical and vigorous profound energy had already rushed over. The dazzling profound light almost hurt his eyes. A profound light flashed past. A heart-wrenching pain, as if his body was being torn apart by 5 horses, assaulted his entire body. Second Elder Jiang let out a blood-curdling scream as blood gushed out from his mouth. Before his consciousness fell into eternal darkness, suddenly, a thought struck him. Oh right, those eyes, he had seen them before. That was His Majesty the Emperor, His Majesty the Emperor. Second Elder Jiang couldn't believe it. He turned his head with difficulty and looked at the girl in peach robes and black hair not far away. Suddenly, he understood something. But he would never be able to say what he understood. He would never be able to open his eyes. Chapter 50-50. Second Elder Jiang was taken care of. The hidden guards of the other nobles of the Jiang family had no power to resist, so they naturally accompanied Second Elder Jiang on his journey. She was about to arrive at the infernal domain. He didn't want any more accidents to happen. He finished dealing with the nobles of the Jiang family who came to cause trouble. The group continued on their way. Yan Xiaoyi stared at Yi Qing Luo with sparkling eyes. Mu Yu, how on earth did you do it? How did you get rid of those dark guards in such a short time? From the moment they took the antidote for Twilight Rain and escaped from the poisonous smoke, only a short moment had passed. Twilight Rain had already subdued all the shadow guards. They didn't see how she did it at all. Yi Qing Luo smiled mysteriously. This is a secret. Of course she couldn't say it. After the shadow guards entered the poisonous smoke, Chen Chongqing's expression changed. Did she use the poisonous smoke to conceal her vision and take out her glowing flame fan? The dark guards were unable to break free from the silver threads on the glowing flame fan. You still want to keep this a secret? Yan Xiaoyi clicked her tongue, and then asked, Then. I'll ask another question. You shouldn't still want to keep it a secret, right? What? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Yan Xiaoyi, what exactly is young Master Chao's profound rank? They had been suppressing this question for a long time. He was simply too curious. He watched as Chao Yun casually waved his hand in front of Second Elder Jiang. He was completely nonchalant, as if he was strangling an ant. It was a piece of cake for him to deal with Second Elder Jiang. After all, Second Elder Jiang's strength, although they had never fought before. It was also very clear. Even if the four of them attacked together, they might not be able to last more than 10 moves against Second Elder Jiang. They knew Chao Yun was strong, but they didn't expect him to be this strong. The man maintained his aloof persona and did not answer. Yiqing Luo rubbed her chin as she looked at Yan Xiaoyi seriously and shook her head. To tell the truth, I don't know either. Yan Xiaoyi. The other three, if you don't want to tell us, we won't force you to tell us. Who would believe such a lie? Yan Xiaoyi had a look of disdain. Yiqing Luo. I'm telling the truth. She really didn't know Dmo Xian's real profound grade. His heart was tired. Yan Xiaoyi and the rest didn't have the intention to continue asking. Yiqing Luo pulled Dmo Xian's arm, her long and narrow eyes raised. Seriously, what profound grade are you at? As your wife, I don't even know your profound rank. This is really a failure. Dmo Xian turned his hand over and clasped her little hand. I'll tell you when we reach the devil's domain. Still making it so mysterious. Yiqing Luo's little head bumped against his chest. She suddenly lowered her voice. Just now, before Second Elder Jiang died, did you notice the way he looked at you? After Second Elder Jiang escaped. She kept staring at Second Elder Jiang. Naturally, he didn't miss it either. Before Second Elder Jiang was engulfed by Dmo Xian's profound qi, the emotions that were projected from his eyes. Dmo Xian replied calmly, N. Then, did he recognize your identity? She saw that look very clearly. Perhaps, before Second Elder Jiang died, he had discovered Dmo Xian's true identity. As well as her identity. N. Dmo Xian lowered his eyes and looked at her, worried of being discovered. He's already dead, even if he knew, there's no way he could bring this news to the secluded palace. Yiqing Luo shrugged, I'm just a little surprised that he could recognize us at the last moment. Chapter 50-51. Once, we met once. Dmo Xian explained as he raised his hand and rubbed her head, don't worry. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her picturesque brows curved, with you around, I'm not worried at all. Dmo Xian's inky black eyes were also filled with a smile. His Lil Luo knew how to rely on him more and more. This was a good sign. He wrapped his arms around the young lady's slender waist in satisfaction. The lady in his arms used her slender hand to press on the back of his hand, moving his hand away. That's right, Xian, based on our speed, we will reach the Devil region by tomorrow afternoon at the latest. Have you been to the Devil region before? Dmo Xian's eyes deepened slightly. Under the young lady's curious gaze. His voice was calm, yes. That place. Is it really as terrifying as the rumors say? Yiqing Luo automatically substituted the Devil region into the Devil realm. She wondered if there were a bunch of mindless devils in the Devil region. Dmo Xian pulled out the hand which was grabbed by the young lady and pressed hard on her head. That place is very dangerous, you just need to follow me closely, understand? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes as her charming eyes were filled with suspicions. Darling, do you know, you're giving me a kind of strange feeling. What? Dmo Xian asked. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly, mentioning the Devil region. You're very nervous and your emotions are very gloomy. So, when the man heard the word so, his handsome brows creased slightly as his sapphire eyes revealed a sliver of anxious fluster. Do you have any old lovers in the Devil region? Yiqing Luo finished her last sentence. Her tone was raised as it was filled with an interrogative tone. Dmo Xian. He shook his head, no. Really? Yiqing Luo pinched his face. If you don't have any old lovers, why don't you dare to look into my eyes? The man sighed softly as he slowly followed the young lady's strength and met her gaze. He raised his hand and held the young lady's little hand which was pinching his face and said, "The devil region is a little complicated. You'll know when we reach there." After that, no matter how Yiqing Luo asked, he did not say a word about it. Yiqing Luo pinched the man's hand and snorted lightly, Sure. When we reach the fiend region, I want to see what shameful things you're hiding from me." There was no longer a tail following him. The journey was smooth. The next day, he arrived at the entrance of the infernal domain. The further they went, the more desolate it became. It was as if all the gloomy and cold air had spread across the entire sky. Yan Xiaoyi and Baiming Lulu had already been enveloped by this cold aura, and the two of them hugged each other. He could not endure the corrosion of this cold qi. Xiao Yan held onto Mo Yuying's wrist with one hand. His face was pale, and it was obvious that he was unable to adapt to this environment. On the contrary, Mo Yuying was expressionless. She didn't seem to be able to sense the cold aura around her. Perhaps it was because he was expressionless. He couldn't see anything strange about her. As for Jiang Zi, he had already fainted and was being carried on Xiao Yinyan's shoulder. Even Yiqing Luo vaguely felt a little uncomfortable. She furrowed her brows. A broad and thick palm clasped her small hand. A warm feeling seeped into Yiqing Luo's limbs and bones, causing the discomfort in her body to suddenly disappear. This is the devil region. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes slightly as she sized up the huge. As though a black hole had appeared out of thin air in midair. In this desolate mountain range. As though a huge bloody mouth had been opened. Chapter 50-52. The chilling aura that filled the sky came from the black hole. You guys can send me here. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways as she looked at the four people behind her. If you go any further, your bodies will not be able to take it. But you. Yan Xiaoyi looked at her worriedly. Yiqing Luo smiled, I'm fine. Since I've decided to go to the devil's region, I've naturally done my preparations. She shifted her gaze back to the black hole. Next, it's our battlefield. Although Yan Xiaoyi and the rest were worried, they knew their limits. Even if they followed Sunset Rain into the infernal domain. In fact, he might even become a burden to them and drag them down. All right. Yan Xiaoyi suppressed the cold air around her, causing her body to feel uncomfortable. Her face was slightly pale, but her beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Leave Jiang Zi to us, we will wait for your return. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes were filled with ripples. They had already arrived at the infernal domain. That meant, she was one step closer to going to her mother's tomb. I wonder how the substitute is doing with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian exchanged glances. Then, he clasped his hands together and walked toward the entrance of the demonic domain. The black hole was shrouded in thick black mist. After stepping into the black hole, everything in front of him was shrouded in darkness. The bone-chilling coldness seemed to be cutting through her skin and assaulted her face. Yiqing Luo could even smell an extremely damp smell which was very pungent. She slightly tightened her fingers. The man beside her sensed that something was wrong with her. His slender and powerful arms pulled her into his embrace. He used his warmth to dispel the coldness around her body. Follow me closely, don't be afraid. A low and mellow voice that sounded like fine wine floated down from above. Clear and gentle, it easily soothed all the uneasiness in Yiqing Luo's heart. The infernal domain is a place of slaughter, so, the entrance would be filled with energy. He explained, it'll be better once we enter the infernal domain. The infernal domain was not easy to enter. At least Yi Qing Luo felt terrible. Even if Dmo Xian had been protecting her with his profound qi, it could only alleviate that little bit of discomfort. The yin qi that filled the sky was like a sharp blade, cutting into their skin one by one. There was also a pungent stench in the air. It almost made Yi Qing Luo vomit. Especially, as the two of them moved forward, there seemed to be some sort of resistance that prevented them from moving forward. Dmo Xian had been using his body to pave the way forward. From time to time, he would lower his head and ask gently in her ear, "Can you still hold on?" Yi Qing Luo was unable to describe her current feelings. The pungent stench made it difficult for her to breathe. A large amount of yin qi turned into sharp blades, causing her skin to hurt as if her flesh was being cut off. The resistance seemed to be squeezing her chest. Yi Qing Luo bit hard on her lower lip to sober herself up a little. "I'm fine." As soon as she opened her mouth, she felt a sharp pain in her head. In the next instant, he passed out completely. By the time Yi Qing Luo woke up, what entered his eyes was a pitch-black sky. A crescent moon that looked like a hook hung in the sky, and a few stars occasionally flashed by. She blinked her eyes as her consciousness was still in a daze. She stared at the sky in a daze for some time. Then she slowly sat up. She surveyed the surroundings. Everything was quiet. Her body no longer had the discomfort from earlier. Trash 7th Young Mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash 7th Young Mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-53. However, the pink dress on her body and the cut on her wrist made her feel uncomfortable. It showed that the feeling he had after entering the demon domain was not a dream. However, the wounds on his body had already been treated, so he did not feel any pain. She straightened her disheveled dress and slowly stood up. Where she was now? It was a lush forest. Under the moonlight, it gave off an eerie feeling. Under the contrast of the surrounding atmosphere, Yi Qing Luo noticed the place where she had been lying. The grass was extremely soft and clean. Yi Qing Luo squatted down and touched the place where she had been lying. It was indeed different from the surrounding meadows. From the looks of it, it should be Dmo Xian who placed her here. Knowing that Xian should be nearby, he did not separate from Xian. Yi Qing Luo's heart, which was hanging in suspense, finally calmed down. She would stay here and wait for Dmo Xian to return. Yi Qing Luo was waiting as she checked the wounds on her body. He confirmed that it was just a superficial wound. The medicine that Dmo Xian had applied on her was an excellent ointment, and it was estimated that she would recover in less than 2 days. She felt relieved, and her slender finger poked at the azure dew bracelet. "Old man Tsang, is this the devil's domain?" However, the azure dew bracelet didn't respond in the slightest. Yi Qing Luo frowned as she injected her profound energy. But the azure dew bracelet's response was as still as stagnant water. So much so that she couldn't even enter the interior of the azure dew bracelet. What was going on? Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed as she tried several times. In the end, he was completely sure. Not only did she lose contact with old man Tsang, but she couldn't even sense those things in the pet space. It was as if there was a barrier separating her from them. But fortunately, the space within the profound phoenix ring was still usable. Could it be? After entering the demon realm, the aura of the demon realm was too cold, so it cut off all contact between her and her companions. It looked like they could only wait for Dmo Xian to return before they could find out the reason. However, Yi Qing Luo waited silently for more than 2 hours. There wasn't even a shadow in sight. It made Yi Qing Luo a little flustered. Xian left her there and left. It meant that this place was safe. However, Xian should be able to calculate the time she would wake up. "You haven't come back for so long." Unless Xian was tied down by something and couldn't rush over. Yiqing Luo recalled the moment she mentioned the Devil Regent to Dmo Xian, and his reaction. Could it be, did something really happen? At this moment, Yiqing Luo's ears were sharp as she heard something. It was as if something was heading towards her direction at a high speed. Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly, and when that thing came near, she suddenly flew up and evaded sideways. Dong! A heavy object crashed into a thick tree not far behind her. Yiqing Luo even saw that big tree shaking violently for a few times. How much strength did he have to use to knock down a tree? Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps and looked towards that thing which was speeding over. He saw that under the thick tree, there was something about the size of a stone that a person could sit on. It was lying on the ground with its 4 legs facing the sky. His 4 limbs were stretched out perfectly straight, and he would occasionally swing his arms and legs. He looked really stupid. What was that? Yiqing Luo wanted to take a good look at that thing. Suddenly, several shadows scuttled out from all directions. Perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo had casually dodged to a tricky spot. Or perhaps it was because those few shadows' attention were all focused on that 4 limbs facing the sky. Chapter 50-54. When those figures rushed over, Lin Fan's eyes widened. They didn't discover Yiqing Luo's existence. But Yiqing Luo could clearly see this scene in front of her. This was people from the Devil Domain. There were 4 people in front of her. Their figures were tall and they looked very skinny. Indeed, in human form. But their faces. Each and every one of them looked like they had thick eyeliner, and their eyes were the color of blood. Even in their mouths, for sharp teeth could be seen. It looked extremely strange. At this moment, the 4 of them rushed to the bottom of the tree, and when they saw that thing with its 4 legs facing the sky, they berated sternly, "Zhu Sha, let's see where else you can escape to." That thing which was lying on the ground with its 4 legs facing the sky, finally moved its 4 limbs when it heard that. Following that, it suddenly flipped over and stood up. This flip. Yiqing Luo saw it clearly. This. Damn, it was a pig. Yes, pig. A pig with porcupine fur all over its body. That pig even opened its mouth to speak. What is Grandpa Pig trying to do by chasing after you? Zhu Sha, don't forget your roots. Don't forget that your life was saved by Madam and you are able to have today's achievements because of Madam. Now you actually dare to steal Madam's medicine. Those few people from the Devil Domain surrounded the porcupine. Hand over the medicine. The porcupine raised its head in a serious manner. I'm a pig, not a human. The 4 of their faces sunk. We don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Madam is kind. As long as you hand over the medicine, Madam won't take your life. I didn't take the medicine. The porcupine replied. The 4 of them, if you didn't take the medicine, why did you run? The porcupine replied, you're chasing after me, why shouldn't I run? Do you really think I'm stupid? The 4 of them. After a moment of silence, the 4 of them gritted their teeth angrily. Since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, then don't blame us for being vicious. Saying that, the few of them pounced towards the porcupine. Shio shio shio, in the air, there was the sound of something slicing through the air. Yiqing Luo saw a bunch of sharp weapons appearing in those men's hands. It was not the kind that could be hidden in a spatial pocket or spatial ring and could appear in the palm of one's hand with just a thought. Instead, it was as if their own bones had transformed into sharp weapons from their hands. This demonic domain, it was probably a city of monsters. Yiqing Luo was stunned by the scene in front of her. The porcupine that was surrounded rolled on the ground. After dodging an attack, its gaze met Yiqing Luo, who was standing in the dark. The medicine is on her. The drug is with her. The hedgehog suddenly roared. Yiqing Luo had yet to react. In front of him, he saw a few weird-looking people from the demon realm carrying bone weapons rushing over. Yiqing Luo. What the hell? This pig actually dragged her into the water. Yiqing Luo's face was twisted. What the F***ck? She decided. Tonight, we'll have an extra meal. Roast whole pig. Yiqing Luo dodged sideways and leaped onto the branch. She lowered her head and looked at the people from the devil's domain. She said, I'm just a passerby. This has nothing to do with me. Who are you? The people from the devil's domain looked at Yiqing Luo warily. But it was only wariness. They didn't feel that Yiqing Luo looked different from them and were shocked. Nothing to do with you. If it really has nothing to do with you, how could you possibly appear in a place like Death Devil Forest? One of them sneered, looks like you're the person behind Zhu Sha. Chapter 50-55. Backing your grandpa. Yiqing Luo felt that her physique, which allowed all sorts of troubles to come knocking on her door, was the best. From what they meant. Death Devil Forest. Just from the name alone, one could tell that it was a forbidden area that would cause people to tremble in fear. Usually no one would appear here. But she was waiting for Dmo Xian here. Then something happened. And it just so happened to be right beside her. Could it be such a coincidence? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath as she clenched her fists tightly. Probably. No matter how she denied. These 4 people from the devil domain would not let her off. That pig. Yiqing Luo glanced at the hedgehog hiding by the side as a cold glint flashed past. Hedgehog. Why did it suddenly feel like it was shivering? It took a look at Yiqing Luo and then looked at those 4 fiendish-looking people from the devil domain. In order to conceal its fear, it continued, that's right, she is the person behind me. The medicine is on her, chase after her, don't chase after me. Saying that, it picked up its trotters and tried to escape. A gust of hurricane struck down horizontally. It directly blocked the path of the hedgehog. Following that, the hedgehog felt something cold wrapping around its body. The next moment, the entire pig was lifted up into the air. Since I'm the person behind you, then I'm your master. The young lady's soft voice was filled with a smile, but it was inexplicably cold. Then how can a slave abandon its master and run away first? The hedgehog was dragged to the front of the young lady. The hedgehog's 4 limbs kept on struggling as it tried to escape. But it couldn't struggle free from the thing on its body. Following that, it met with a pair of crescent-shaped eyes with deep dimples. The hedgehog suddenly stopped moving and didn't struggle anymore. A pair of pig eyes stared intently at Yiqing Luo. Following that, its mouth pounced towards Yiqing Luo's face. Beauty! Beauty! Yiqing Luo gave him a tight slap on his face. Following that, she threw the pig directly towards those 4 people. If you want the medicine, first slaughter this pig and stew it, then I'll give you the medicine. You! The porcupine jumped up from the ground and glared at her. You look so beautiful, but your heart is so vicious. You actually want to eat me. Yiqing Luo sneered. How dare you glare at your master? Hedgehog, the 4 people from the demon region did not have the patience to watch these 2 people fight. One of them directly grabbed the pig's head on the ground. Don't try to play tricks. Hand over the madam's medicine. Didn't I say that if you want the medicine, kill this insolent pig? Since I'm in a good mood, I'll naturally give it to you. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms over her chest and slightly raised her chin. Her eyes revealed a hint of sharpness. The porcupine was hung up and its body kept swaying back and forth. After hearing Yiqing Luo's words, it swayed even more violently. The four men looked at each other. Following that, they speedily surrounded Yiqing Luo. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn. On the ground, there were 4 people and a pig. Yiqing Luo clapped her hands. From her peripheral vision, she caught a glimpse of that pig which was originally lying on the ground, quietly getting up and trying to slip away. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she stepped on the pig's head, trying to escape. Have you asked for your master's opinion? Hey, woman. Don't think that you can hit me just because you look good. The porcupine struggled a few times on the ground. It realized that it couldn't struggle out. It could only use its nose to make a puff 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 sound. I'm warning you, you'd better let go of me. Otherwise don't blame your grandpa pig for taking action against women. Chapter 50-56. Really? Why don't you do it for me to see? Yiqing Luo sneered as she lifted its pig head up to eye level with her. A pair of smiling eyes, in the eyes of the porcupine pig, was like a sharp knife stabbing into its body. The porcupine shivered. Then what are you trying to do? Its arrogance also weakened. Yiqing Luo shook the pig and looked at its 4 limbs flailing in the air as she smiled satisfactorily. I should be the one asking you this question, right? She was just a passerby. Unfortunately, she was dragged into the water by this pig. Just arrived at the devil's domain. She killed the people from the devil's domain. Listening to their conversation. These few people from the devil's domain seemed to be some awesome madam's underlings. If the news of her killing these 4 people was leaked out, probably on the first day in the devil's domain, she would probably cause a huge commotion. All of this was because of this pig. So, Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed dangerously as she stared dangerously at the porcupine. This pig had to be slaughtered. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do to me? The porcupine was frightened by Yiqing Luo's gaze as it tried its best to kick with its hooves. But it couldn't struggle free from Yiqing Luo. I'm wrong. I didn't mean to let them discover you. The porcupine's survival instinct was extremely strong as it quickly explained, I saw that you're powerful and knew that you would definitely be able to settle these few people, so. I'm begging you for help. A pig blinked its pig eyes at Yiqing Luo, putting on a fawning look. Yiqing Luo's hand was ready to slap it. She sneered, do you think I'm like you, a pig that can be easily deceived? Knew she was powerful. So it begged her for help. Was that a begging gesture? Release your dog. Pooey, pig fart. Yiqing Luo directly pressed the pig's head onto the ground. Should I roast you, braise you, or steam you? Beauty, you're so good looking, please be kind and let me off. Just this once. The porcupine immediately begged for mercy. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly. It's my business whether I'm good looking, why should I let you off? The porcupine struggled on the ground. Then I'll give you the medicine I stole. So, you really stole something. Yiqing Luo sneered as her lips twitched. As for me, I hate those white-eyed pigs the most. I. The hedgehog pig's eyes widened and he shouted in a sharp voice, that's the only demon flame flower in the demon domain. Are you sure you don't want it? Demon flame flower. What was that? She, who was familiar with 100 refining pills, had never heard of this medicinal herb. Yiqing Luo's interest was piqued. The hedgehog pig had always been observant and on seeing that Yiqing Luo was visibly moved, it hurriedly continued, with the devil flame flower, you can do whatever you want in this devil region. Yiqing Luo snorted coldly, if you could really run amok, would you be chased by those 4 people all the way here? Hedgehog pig. What she said made sense, it actually had no way to refute. Yiqing Luo bent down slightly and the strength of her body pressed onto the porcupine's neck. The porcupine's forehooves kept on flopping as it let out a pft sound of pain. Take out the devil flame flower and let me have a look. I'll check the goods first before deciding whether to let you off or not. Yi Qing Luo said calmly. The porcupine cried out miserably, no way. You have to let me off first. Chapter 50-57. Want to discuss terms with me? Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled as she smiled brilliantly. Hedgehog's pig body shook. Who knows if you will eat me after you take the magic flame flower. Yi Qing Luo smiled even more brilliantly. From the moment you pointed the spearhead at me, you have no other choice. Her hand, unknowingly pulled out a huge machete. The sharp cold glint flowed on the blade. She smiled, or... Do you think that your life is not worth to exchange for the magic flame flower? Hedgehog. Was it too late to regret now? How did it provoke this god of death? Hedgehog racked its brains, trying to delay the time. It heard the young lady asking indifferently, I say. You actually don't have any magic flame flower, right? Hedgehog's entire pig was in trouble. Its reaction didn't escape Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Yi Qing Luo snorted lightly. Looks like you don't have anything to exchange for your life. I. Hedgehog's thorns were trembling. But when it met with the young lady's piercingly cold, murderous eyes, its heart instantly turned cold. It couldn't escape. How could it escape from this young lady's hands? Just at this moment, the force that was pressing down on it suddenly lessened. It went into a daze. When it raised its pig head again, it saw the young lady had already straightened her body, standing beside it, looking down at it condescendingly. There wasn't much emotion on the young lady's delicate little face. She only raised her slender brows, speaking indifferently, Look at your cowardly look, cowardly to this extent, you dare to steal your wife's magic flame flower. I didn't steal. Hedgehog's thorns suddenly exploded. It flopped over and got up, its hair stood up, staring at Yi Qing Luo. It's not me, I didn't steal any magic flame flower at all. Is there any use for you to tell me? Yi Qing Luo snorted, no one will believe you, so... You were chased to this place, isn't it? Hedgehog's eyes widened, slowly extinguishing the light. The sharp thorns slowly drooped down. It slowly lowered its head, and its big ears drooped. Yes. No one will believe it. The entire pig slumped to the ground. Yi Qing Luo returned to the grassland that Dmo Xian had arranged for her and sat down cross-legged. She stared at the porcupine for a while before saying, Hey, that pig. I'm not a pig, I have a name. The hedgehog raised its head. My name is Zhu Sha. Yi Qing Luo sized it up from head to toe. No matter how I look at you, you look like a pig. Hedgehog. Don't you dare mock me, I'm telling you. I just don't have enough magic power right now. When I recover my magic power, I will become a human. Yi Qing Luo. Could it be that the people from the infernal region could transform from a pig to a human? Why does he feel like an orc? You don't have anything on you that's worth exchanging for your life. Yi Qing Luo swept away the messy thoughts in her mind and put on a serious look, then. Answer a few questions of mine. Porcupine. Cinnabar had a look of vigilance on her face. What do you want to ask? Don't ask her how she could see the vigilance on a pig's face. Anyway, she felt that this pig was on guard against her. She didn't know what it was on guard against. She also didn't know when Xian would return. Before Xian returned, she might as well find out more about the infernal region from this pig's mouth. Chapter 50-58. Yi Qing Luo lifted her leg and gave it a kick. Why do you care what I ask? Just answer my questions. Oh. Zhu Sha replied timidly. Yiqing Luo's vision swept past the few corpses lying on the ground. Who are they? Who is the madam you are talking about? Zhu Sha was stunned. You actually don't know madam? Should I know? Could it be that this madam was known by everyone in the Devil region? But, even so, there were at least hundreds of madams in the Devil region. It didn't mention which madam she was. Wasn't it normal to not know her? Zhu Sha's face was filled with shock. Madam Huang Xi. Madam Huang Xi. As someone from the Devil region, you don't even know Madam Huang Xi. Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and gave it another kick. Speak properly. From Zhu Sha's mouth. Yiqing Luo found out. This Devil region was divided into 3 continents. Devil Chuan Continent, Devil Phoenix Continent, Devil Wing Continent. And this Madam Huang Xi was the first madam of the Devil Phoenix Continent. It could be said that her status was only second to the most respected Lord Devil Hall in the Devil region. And this Madam Huang Xi was the only one in the entire Devil region who was addressed as Madam. Because, Madam Huang Xi's way of doing things was totally different from the other Devil region's people. Madam Huang Xi was kind-hearted and had many good karma. It could be said that in a place like the Devil region which was filled with killings and merciless, she was totally a different kind of existence. But, she was different. This Madam Huang Xi's ability was very powerful. Even the esteemed Lord Devil Hall was extremely respectful towards Madam Huang Xi. Hence, no one in the entire Devil region dared to offend this first madam. Zhu Sha was one of the people whom Madam Huang Xi saved. As she looked more likable, she was kept by Madam Huang Xi's side to take care of her daily life. But she had not expected to attract the jealousy of the others, which resulted in a drama of stealing the magic flame flower. Yiqing Luo expressed her doubts. Since Madam Huang Xi is so powerful, why did it seem like Madam Huang Xi would die if she didn't have that magic flame flower? Madam won't. Zhu Sha's pig eyes turned red as she stared at Yiqing Luo. Madam is so good, absolutely nothing will happen to her. So, what's the situation? Yiqing Luo asked. Cinnabar's eyes were red as he lowered his pig head. Previously, Madam Huang Xi had once been poisoned in order to protect the safety of the Demon Phoenix continent. All these years, she had relied on her own demonic energy to suppress the poison. But, this kind of forceful suppression could only suppress it. The longer it accumulates, the stronger the poison in her body. This point, Yiqing Luo as an alchemist, naturally understood. He moved forward to suppress the poison. In the beginning, he might seem like a normal person. But as time went on, the more poison accumulated. Basically, it had reached the point where the poison had entered the vitals and penetrated deep into the bone marrow. Even if he could detoxify the poison in the end, the poison that had accumulated in his body for a long time could not be removed. The Devil Flame Flower is the only medicine that can cure Madam Huang Xi's poison. Zhu Sha stomped her hoof on the ground. But the demonic flame flower is gone. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes unknowingly as she asked, "You've already been poisoned for such a long time, why did you only know to use the magic flame flower to detoxify the poison now?" Moreover, the demonic flame flower was coincidentally stolen. This I don't know as well. Zhu Sha shook her head. When I was brought back to Madam's residence by Madam was already investigating the whereabouts of the magic flame flower. Chapter 50-59. Yiqing Luo touched her chin. If there is a chance, she could go and see what kind of poison the First Lady was suffering from. If there was a chance to help him detoxify the poison, it was not impossible. However, before this, she'd better settle her own matters first. Yiqing Luo didn't limit the topic to Madam Huang Xi. The reason why she mentioned Madame Huang Xi was to indirectly ask about the current situation in the demon region. After a few questions, Yiqing Luo roughly had a little bit of understanding towards the devil region. In the infernal domain, magic was the main source of power. Magic power was similar to her so-called profound energy. But there was still a clear difference between magic power and dark energy. However, Dmo Xian should have placed something on her. In the eyes of the people of the infernal region, she was exactly the same as the people from the demon domain. Even if he used profound energy, in the eyes of the devil region's people, it was still demonic energy. No wonder these people from the devil region didn't find anything strange about her when they saw her face. Even worse, after she made her move, Cinnabar also did not show any signs of abnormality. She was even shocked that she didn't know about Madame Huang Xi. After a few rounds of beating around the bush, Yiqing Luo suddenly tugged Zhu Sha's pig ear as she bent over slightly and leaned close to it. Then, her pink lips curled into a casual smile. "I have one last question." Zhu Sha immediately widened her pig eyes, asked. "I'll definitely tell you everything I know." Yiqing Luo's smile rose slightly, the long and narrow arc, revealing a low charm. "Your devil region, where in the world has the existence of the devil dragon? Mystic dragon?" When these two words came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth, Zhu Sha was completely dumbfounded. His voice trembled as he repeated, "Demonic dragon." Yiqing Luo smiled as she nodded. "Looks like you know where the demon dragon is." What she had said in front of the world group earlier wasn't all fake. She was indeed going to the infernal domain to find the demonic dragon. However, what she wanted was not the blood of the demonic dragon. Instead, he had to find the demon dragon's lair. It was indicated on the Xian Yen Dubhe diagram. The demonic dragon lair was the entrance. You must be joking, right?" Zhu Sha jumped up. "Demon dragon? How can there be dragons in the infernal domain? Since I asked, I naturally have them." Yiqing Luo didn't continue to clamp down on Zhu Sha as she allowed it to use its hooves to slap the ground. "You're not a qualified devil domain pig, you haven't even heard of the devil dragon." "Don't tell me I haven't heard of it. Ask anyone in the infernal domain, who knows where the demonic dragon is?" Zhu Sha exploded again. "Dragons? How could a creature like a dragon appear in our infernal zone?" Its huge nose puffed out 2 streams of air. "If you want to find a dragon, you might as well go to other realms. I heard that Nirvana realm, that low-level realm, even had dragons. Even such a low-leveled realm has a dragon, but the devil domain doesn't have one." Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly as her tone was filled with ridicule. Zhu Sha remained silent for a moment as her pig eyes stared suspiciously at Yiqing Luo. "Why do I feel that? You totally don't treat yourself as someone from the devil domain. Aren't you from the infernal domain?" "Oh, I'm not," Yiqing Luo admitted straightforwardly. Zhu Sha. "Like hell I'll believe you." His questioning was fruitless. Yiqing Luo knew that she wouldn't be able to get anything out of this pig. So she directly waved her hand, asking it to scram. Another 2 hours had passed with this pig. Dmo Xian was still nowhere to be seen. She didn't know where he had run off to. Chapter 50-60. Yiqing Luo wasn't worried that she and Dmo Xian were separated. Or perhaps Dmo Xian had left her here. After she woke up, the surrounding environment and the place she was at was absolutely safe. Presumably, Dmo Xian must have been tied up by something. In this devil region, she didn't know what happened, but the connection between the Azure Dew bracelet and the pet space was totally cut off. She had better stay here first, waiting for Dmo Xian to come back and look for her. This place. It was known as the Death Devil Forest. There shouldn't be any other Devil Region's people here. Zhu Sha had been making noises, asking Yi Qing Luo to let it go. But when Yi Qing Luo really asked it to scram, it instead shamelessly leaned towards Yi Qing Luo's side. That pig head face was filled with a fawning and wretched smile. Big beauty, you look so good, where do you want to go? Why not bring me along? What does it have to do with you that I look good? Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at it, unrestrainedly admitting that she looked good, but following that she rejected it decisively. You're just a useless pig, do you want to stay by my side and be eaten by me? Zhu Sha. Until now, you're still thinking of eating me. Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms. My roasted pig skill is not bad, do you want to try? This pig was obviously trouble. She had just arrived at the Devil Region and Dmo Xian wasn't by her side. It was better to avoid trouble as much as possible. This pig absolutely could not be left alive. She originally thought that based on Zhu Sha's temperament, she had been frightened. At the very least, it would leave obediently. But unexpectedly, Zhu Sha's eyes were misty with tears as it raised its pig head, facing death with equanimity towards Yi Qing Luo. To be eaten by a big beauty like you, it's my honor. If you want to eat, then eat. Yi Qing Luo. Forget it. If it wanted to stay here, then so be it. Yi Qing Luo returned to the clean and soft grass as she sat down cross-legged. Zhu Sha saw that she didn't chase it away and instantly opened its pig mouth as it laughed. I knew a big beauty is tough on the outside but soft on the inside. How could a big beauty bear to eat me? It waddled its buttocks to Yi Qing Luo's side as it laid down. Yi Qing Luo glanced at the pig head by her feet as she squinted her eyes and asked, "This is the Death Devil Forest and you're following me here. Aren't you afraid that something might happen? There's a beauty here." Zhu Sha replied as if it was a matter of course. If the Great Beauty dares to stay in the Death Devil Forest, it means that the Great Beauty is completely unafraid of the Death Devil Forest. Even a beauty isn't afraid, so why should I be? Yi Qing Luo. No, it wasn't that she wasn't afraid, but she totally didn't know what was so terrifying about this Death Devil Forest. But you don't have to worry, Big Beauty. Right now, everyone is rushing towards Devil Head City. Even the demons of the Death Devil Forest are rushing towards Devil Head City. This Death Devil Forest should be very safe for the time being. Zhu Sha saw that Yi Qing Luo didn't say a word, so she spoke out to pacify her. Occasionally there are one or two troublemakers. The beauty just needs to lift a finger and you will be able to settle them, Yi Qing Luo. He really thought highly of her. But Devil Head City. Those were the main cities of the 3 continents. It was also the main city where the person with the highest status in the demon domain, the one who was known as the Demon Palace Lord, was located. The people from the demon domain were rushing towards the main city. It was obvious that something big had happened in the main city, and it was something that concerned the demon domain. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose slightly. What happy event is happening in Devil Head City? That's right, that's right. Upon mentioning this, Zhu Sha's entire pig became excited. Have you heard of Overlord? 7th Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler with your love. 7th Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 5061. Overlord. Not only heard of it, simply couldn't be any more familiar with it. Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed slightly as her eyes looked towards Zhu Sha without blinking. Overlord. What's the matter? I'd not expected the Great Beauty to actually like that type of man like the Overlord. Zhu Sha secretly sniggered a few times. The minute you hear the Overlord's name, you become so agitated. Yi Qing Luo's fist hammered on its head. Stop talking rubbish. Zhu Sha's head arched towards the ground as its body laid limp on the ground. Its pig trotters were still thrashing about with all its might, its mouth puffing and puffing as it howled. howling and howling. When it saw the young lady's squinted eyes, reflecting a dangerous cold glint, it immediately stopped thrashing its pig trotters. Great beauty, even if you like the overlord, there's absolutely no possibility between the two of you. Zhu Sha spoke in an earnest and heartfelt tone. Great beauty, stop thinking about the overlord, why not consider me? Yiqing Luo's fist landed once again. Zhu Sha rolled on the ground. I'm serious. After I turn into a human, I'm not any worse off than the overlord. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers clenched tightly one by one. The bones that she pinched made a kacha-kacha sound. Zhu Sha instantly became despondent. Great beauty, no matter how much you like the overlord, he's also someone whom you can't even think about. If it was in the past, you liked the overlord, then you can try to use your honey trap to see if you can make the overlord take the bait. When Zhu Sha said this, she mumbled softly, although you're definitely not going to succeed, but at least you still have a chance to dream. But now. Zhu Sha raised its pig head as it gave a long sigh and spoke in an especially earnest and heartfelt tone, as though an elder was consoling her. The overlord is already the fiancé of Lord Demon Hole. This time Devil Head City's joyous event is the overlord and Lord Demon Hole's marriage ceremony. Yiqing Luo's heart thumped hard. Her pair of long and narrow eyes unconsciously contracted. Her slender brows creased into a bundle. Say that again. No matter how many times I say it, it won't change the fact. Zhu Sha looked at Yiqing Luo's devastated look as her voice weakened by quite a bit. Great beauty, the overlord is a god that ordinary people like us are unable to come into contact with. In this world, only Devil Palace Lord is barely worthy of the overlord. Yiqing Luo interrupted its words. When did they announce their marriage and when did the wedding ceremony start? Zhu Sha, just a few hours ago. Lord Devil Palace personally announced to the world that he sincerely invites the devil cultivators of the 3 continents of the Devil Domain to head to Devil Head City to participate in the marriage ceremony. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The wedding ceremony is in 3 days. Beauty, are you thinking of snatching the bride? A few hours ago. In other words, she and Dmo Xian had just arrived at the Devil's Domain. Dmo Xian went over to that whatever Lord Devil Palace. This so-called wedding ceremony, it was probably the wishful thinking of the Demon Hole. However, why didn't Xian react? Moreover, he still hadn't returned to the demonic forest to look for her. Could it be trapped in the Devil Hole? Yiqing Luo's squinted eyes were filled with a chilly intent. She pursed her pink lips slightly as she abruptly stood up. Let's go to Devil Head City. She couldn't wait for Xian here any longer. Xian must have met with trouble. Zhu Sha was so frightened that it went into a daze. Great beauty, you really want to snatch the bride? You're crazy. 7th young miss who likes trash, overlord, please be gentler with your love. 7th young miss who likes trash, overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 5062. No matter how powerful you are, you can't go snatch Lord Demon Hole's marriage. Furthermore, even if you go snatch the marriage, the overlord will not let you. Big beauty, calm down, calm down. Don't be rash. Zhu Sha jumped up and bit Yiqing Luo's robe. The young lady's pink dress was already tattered. After being bitten, another large piece of cloth was ripped off, revealing the young lady's fair arm. Yiqing Luo waved Zhu Sha away. Either lead the way to Devil Head City or you stay here. Big beauty, have you forgotten what I said earlier? Zhu Sha jogged along beside Yiqing Luo as she looked up at her. The only lady who can barely match up to the overlord is only Lord Demon Hole. It's normal for them to get married. Even if you go to Devil Head City, what can you do? No. Yiqing Luo suddenly stopped in her tracks as she glanced sideways. Her long and narrow eyes were filled with Zhu Sha. Zhu Sha went into a blank. What? You're wrong. Yiqing Luo's pink lips moved slightly as her words entered her ears clearly. In this world, the only person who can stand beside him can only be I. That clear voice was like an orchid. When Zhu Sha met her eyes, she was stunned. The words of persuasion were at the tip of its tongue, but it couldn't be said out. Just for a moment. It actually believed what she said. Will you lead the way? Yiqing Luo asked. Zhu Sha lowered its pig head. Even if I lead the way, by the time you rush to Devil Head City, the wedding ceremony would have already ended. You won't be able to snatch the marriage. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as her half-squinted eyes stared at it with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Her pink lips curled up into an arc, adding a hint of unspoken threat. If I didn't remember wrongly, when you charged towards me, that speed was much faster than ordinary magical beasts. Yiqing Luo's smile deepened, so, be aware of it. Zhu Sha. I'm a human, not a pig. The last of the last. Yiqing Luo sat on Zhu Sha's back as she charged out of the Devil Forest. Zhu Sha's body was covered with hedgehog-like fur, and it could be controlled with its will. When Yiqing Luo was sitting on Zhu Sha's back, the hairs that looked like steel needles were actually extremely soft. Actually, it would be better if Cinnabar were to hide in the Death Devil Forest. After all, it still bore the reputation of being a sinner who stole Madame Huang Xi's Devil Flame Flower. Once they appeared in the main city, he was afraid that Madame Huang Xi's subordinates would chase him relentlessly. It didn't matter if Cinnabar stole the Demon Flame Flower or not, as long as it was related to the demonic flame flower. Even Zhu Sha had to take the blame for this and pay the price with her life. But Zhu Sha still followed beside Yiqing Luo. Zhu Sha had a very strong intuition. Perhaps it was the intuition of a pig. As long as he followed this girl, its life would definitely undergo earth-shattering changes. He would die either way. Why not follow her and look for miracles? Zhu Sha's speed was indeed very fast. In just a short while, they had already left the Death Devil Forest. After leaving the forest, Yiqing Luo noticed it. The houses in the demon domain were all similar to ancient castles. As far as the eye could see, it was filled with castles. Zhu Sha carried her on its back as it chose a secluded path to avoid the crowd. But it was still not enough. First Madame Huang Xi's power. The guards who chased after them to the Death Devil Forest had yet to return. Madame's residence sent more people to wait outside the Death Devil Forest. Chapter 5063. They had just exited the Devil Forest for less than an hour's journey. Zhu Sha was blocked by a team of ferocious-looking Devil Domain people. Zhu Sha. I've not expected you to have such ability to escape from the fourth team. The Devil Domain people stared at Zhu Sha as they ridiculed, but even if you manage to escape from the fourth team, you will not be able to escape from our third team's palm. Zhu Sha was surrounded by that team and could only stop in her tracks. It lowered its voice as it explained to Yiqing Luo, Madame Huang Xi's guards are split into 8 small teams and this man is the third team's team leader. Zhu Sha's voice became softer. The surrounding Devil Domain people were nearby and could hear it. The third team's team leader's vision fell onto Zhu Sha's back, on the young lady. His eyes, which had thick eyeliner on them, revealed an evil smirk. That eyes were filled with a naked expression. Zhu Sha is not bad. You didn't forget to bring a woman along when escaping. The third team's team leader stared at Yiqing Luo as he sized her up. This woman looks not bad. He looked at Zhu Sha, hand this woman over to me and I will Leave your corpse in one piece, how about that? Third team leader, I didn't steal the magic flame flower. Zhu Sha's body tensed up as the porcupine hair stood up. But the place where Yiqing Luo was sitting was still soft. Zhu Sha's tone was infuriated. Let me see madam, I will explain to her personally. Want to see madam? The third team's team leader laughed coldly. You white-eyed pig, are you even fit to see madam? I have never betrayed madam. Zhu Sha's pig face flushed red from anger. But... so what? The third team's team leader's eyes gave a sinister smile. I said you stole it, then. It's you. Zhu Sha went into a blank as his pig eyes widened. So it's you. The third team's team leader's thick eyeliner eyes curved into a slit as he grinned widely. Zhu Sha, as a demon pig, be a good pig. He suddenly charged towards Zhu Sha as he stretched out his hand to grab Yiqing Luo's shoulder. This woman, I will help you. Keep her. Third team leader, you, don't touch her. Zhu Sha was so scared that its pig body trembled as it shrank backwards, trying to escape with Yiqing Luo. However, they were tightly surrounded by 3 teams of guards. The leader of the third team laughed sinisterly. Trash, you should act like trash. He lifted his leg and kicked Zhu Sha. And that sharp fingernails directly clasped onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Crack, there was the sound of bones breaking. What followed was the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Dust flew all over the ground. Zhu Sha kept her eyes tightly shut. However, the pain that he had imagined did not come. It was standing on the ground. Then, what was that thing that was thrown out just now? Cinnabar opened her eyes. He saw the leader of Team 3 lying on the ground in a sorry state, clutching his hand and screaming in pain. Zhu Sha was still a little confused. Then, he heard the young man's ruthless voice from above him, "Get lost." Every word he said was filled with boundless killing intent. The ragged and battered-looking girl jumped down from Zhu Sha's back. Pink dress, even though it was tattered. It was hard to conceal the young lady's innate noble temperament. Her narrow eyes fell onto the leader of Team 3, "Call your madam over." Yiqing Luo's heart was burning with anxiety. She only wanted to run over to Devil Head City to save her Xian. She might not be able to make it in time. Now she was blocked by the third team's leader. Where would she have the patience to let him act cool? Chapter 50-64. Who are you? The third team leader crawled up from the ground in pain as he gritted his teeth and stared at Yiqing Luo. Is madam someone whom you can meet whenever you want to? Yiqing Luo's eyes turned even colder. She lifted her feet and walked towards the third team leader. Her footsteps were slow and her tattered pink dress lifted the hem of her dress. Like peach blossom petals, flying in the air. She was obviously a young lady with no expression on her face. Even her footsteps were light. But the third team leader only felt that from the moment the young lady walked towards him. A strong oppressive feeling came rushing towards him, pressuring him so much that he almost couldn't breathe. It was this young lady who created this oppressive feeling. She was using her imposing manner to force him. The third team leader was able to become the third team leader so naturally he wasn't a fool. Being arrogant in front of Zhu Sha. That was because Zhu Sha was someone he could casually play with. But this young lady was obviously not an ordinary person. The third team leader was so frightened that he retreated backwards, not daring to look at Yiqing Luo. The young lady's brows squinted slightly as her long and narrow eyes flashed with an eerie cold glint. The third team leader retreated. She closed in. Her voice was filled with an irresistible chill. I don't have much patience. I still have use for this pig now. If your first madam's residence insists on pestering me, then now. Let's settle this problem once and for all. Settling it directly was the fastest way. She didn't want to be stopped and chased away time and time again along the way. Although it might be faster if she changed to another mount. But this was Yiqing Luo's first time coming to the Devil's Domain. Who knew where she would be able to find a mount? This Zhu Sha, although it was timid and had a cheap mouth. But the good thing was that his character was not bad. At least when it mentioned Madame Huang Xi, its eyes were sparkling and filled with gratitude, which was absolutely not an act. So she had to settle the magic flame flower in the shortest time possible. Then she had to rush towards Devilhead City. The third team leader staggered as he fell onto the ground. The people from the Devil's Domain who were brought along immediately surrounded the third team leader. Yiqing Luo condescendingly looked down at the third team leader. Or are you intending to die? When the last word was said. In the young lady's hand, a gleaming sharp broadsword appeared. A slender and delicate young lady holding a broadsword. It looked extremely discordant. However, the girl's aura completely suppressed the evil aura of the broadsword. The faces of the leaders of the third team darkened and changed constantly. Where did Zhu Sha find such a powerful helper? Miss, I advise you not to help that pig. It was the sinner who had stolen Madame's magic flame flower. If you help it, you'll be going against Madame. The leader of the third team still wanted to struggle. If you offend Madame, you will be hated by everyone in the infernal region. Are you sure, you still want to help Zhu Sha? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes lifted upward slightly. Her pink lips were clearly curled into a smile. However, it exuded a chilling aura. It doesn't matter if it stole it or not. The important thing is, whether Madame believes it or not. Yiqing Luo bent over slightly and closed the distance between her and the third team leader. So, let me see Madame. The leader of Team 3 shrunk back. At the moment when Yiqing Luo bent down, a murderous look suddenly appeared in his eyes. He suddenly sprung up from the ground as he clawed towards Yiqing Luo. Crack, another crisp sound was heard. Following that, was the third team leader's miserable shriek. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please collect it gently. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please collect it gently. Chapter 50-65. Once again, he was sent flying out. This time, he didn't have the energy to climb up. He laid on the ground, totally unable to move. Only his heavy panting proved that he was still alive. Yiqing Luo retracted her leg and squinted her eyes as she glanced at him indifferently. There wasn't any warmth in her eyes. She carried her broadsword as she walked over directly. She raised her hand and was about to slash downwards. Spare him. A crisp voice was heard. Immediately after, an extremely majestic force flew towards him. Yiqing Luo seemed to be prepared as she retracted her hand and took a step back, avoiding that force. The third team leader's eyes shone with a ray of hope when he heard that voice. He tried his best to raise his head as he looked towards the direction of the voice. Yiqing Luo also retreated to a safe place as she crossed her arms and casually looked over, at the corner of a secluded path. First, a lady dressed in a plain brocade robe, who looked like a servant girl, walked out. Following that, a soft carriage with floating gauze entered everyone's eyes. The 4 people in the carriage were definitely not ordinary people. Their footsteps were steady, and even though they were carrying the carriage, they couldn't hear their footsteps. In the gauze, a slender figure could be seen indistinctly. When they saw that servant girl, the 3 teams of Devil Domain's people all revealed a joyous expression as they hurriedly shouted, "Sister Hai Lan, Sister Hai Lan. Quickly save the third team leader." The servant girl and the carriage were all unhurriedly heading towards this side. When Zhu Sha saw that side, its entire pig went into a daze. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at it. This is Madame Huang Xi right? Zhu Sha didn't reply, but the expression in that pair of pig eyes had already explained everything. Over there. The servant girl who was addressed as Hai Lan was already nearing the carriage. Finally, it stopped at. The three teams were about 3 steps away. The carriage landed on the ground. The gauze floated. Hai Lan opened her mouth. This young lady, if there isn't any deep hatred, there's no need to take his life, right? Her tone was very calm. And without any intention to question. Yiqing Luo calmly replied, if he hadn't blocked the way, I wouldn't have the time to deal with him. Her gaze looked directly towards the carriage. Is it Madame Huang Xi? Impudent. Hai Lan frowned and raised her voice. Miss, you hurt the guards of Madame's mansion and are still so rude. Do you think that Madame is kind and won't do anything to you? Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled slightly as she casually sneered, what you said is rather interesting. Only your Madame's guards are allowed to hurt people, but I'm not allowed to defend myself. If he's injured, it's because he's not as skilled as me. How can you blame me for not going easy on him? Not to mention, being rude. This is called rudeness. I'm afraid you haven't seen me being rude before. Madame Huang Xi was the faith of the Devil Phoenix continent. She did not want to become enemies with Madame Huang Xi. After all, he still wanted to go to Devil Head City to kidnap the bride. She wanted to have a proper discussion with Madame Huang Xi about the Devil Flame Flower. But that didn't mean that she had to lower her voice and comply with him. You. This was the first time Harland had seen such an arrogant person. Before he could finish, a clear and elegant voice came from the carriage, interrupting Hai Lan's words. Hai Lan, back off. That elegant voice sounded soft and gentle. But the tone was filled with nobility and majesty. Hai Lan immediately kept quiet as she retreated to the side of the carriage. The gauze was lifted by a fair hand. Following that, a graceful figure walked out. Chapter 50-66. The lady was dressed in a dark blue pleated dress. There weren't many patterns, but the fabric and design was dignified. Just one look. She knew. The lady's status was respected. The minute she appeared, her vision fell onto Yiqing Luo. That pair of gentle but not elegant beautiful eyes squinted slightly, as though she was examining Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was also sizing her up. The lady in front of her looked very young, about 24 or 25 years old, but her age should be around 30. When she was looking at her, there wasn't any malicious intent in her eyes. Clear and moist, it wouldn't make one feel disgusted. Madame Huang Xi. Yiqing Luo directly opened her mouth. The only thing that could make you come over personally is Magic Flame Flower. Madame Huang Xi's eyes were gentle as she pouted her red lips. You already knew, I was by your side. It wasn't a question, but an affirmation. What Yiqing Luo did to the third team leader. Actually, right from the start, she had never thought of taking the third team leader's life. But to force them out from the dark. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Since you know, then you should know the reason. She stretched out her hand and lifted the pig by her feet. Actually, you already knew that Zhu Sha was framed, right? Madame Huang Xi took a look at Zhu Sha. Her eyes were still gentle. Zhu Sha is a good person. He knows how to repay kindness, so I believe him. Since that's the case, there's no problem. Yiqing Luo said, withdraw the order to pursue Zhu Sha. Don't let Madame's people pester us. Mississippi. Madame Huang Xi wasn't unhappy with Yiqing Luo's attitude. She laughed lightly. No matter what, you have to give an explanation for the loss of the magic flame flower. Even if I believe Zhu Sha, I still need evidence, isn't it? Madame Huang Xi's voice was calm and peaceful. He did not have the slightest hint of being high and mighty or imposing. It was like a very normal person saying normal things. Because of Zhu Sha, Miss has already killed the 4th team leader and the other guards. She continued, there's a reason for this, and this matter isn't your responsibility, so... Miss, please return Zhu Sha back to Madam's residence. If you find any evidence, I will definitely protect Zhu Sha. This Madam Huang Xi was something. First, he expressed his belief in Cinnabar, then he mentioned that he needed evidence. Then, he pointed out her mistakes and used the excuse of not being calculative to make her feel guilty about it. Then, he gave the cinnabar to Madame Huang Xi. Yiqing Luo's curiosity was piqued. Zhu Sha, this pig, looked like a very ordinary demon pig. Even the demon pig that could transform into a human. But there was no need for Madame Huang Xi to appear personally, right? Could it be? What other secrets were hidden behind the cinnabar? Yiqing Luo took a look at Zhu Sha. The expression on Zhu Sha's face was very complicated. Obviously, he understood Madame Huang Xi's intentions. Initially, when Madame Huang Xi said that she believed in it, it felt a little strange. It was still very excited. Then he heard the back part. The pig was dumbfounded. After all, Madame Huang Xi still did not believe it. Yiqing Luo stared at Madame Huang Xi for some time and suddenly opened her mouth. Madame's countenance is outstanding and your temperament is outstanding, but your brows and eyes are green, and even if your lips are dyed with rouge, it is unable to conceal the dark green within. Her line of sight then fell onto Madame Huang Xi's waist, although there's nothing unusual with Madame's walk, but her waist isn't straight. It should be due to the accumulation of poison in her body, exceeding the limits of her body. Chapter 50-67. Does Madame Huang Xi feel short of breath every day, especially when you're walking, your body and mind feel heavy, unable to move an inch? Following Yiqing Luo's words, Madame Huang Xi and Hai Lan's expressions had a subtle change. Until they heard the last sentence. Madame Huang Xi's pair of elegant eyes flashed past a sharp cold glint. It disappeared in a flash. She paused for a moment as her pupils contracted. Miss is a doctor. No, I'm just a pharmacist. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. If Madame doesn't mind, I can help Madame to take a look at the accumulated poison in your body. Huang Xi Fu Rao's eyes flashed with a strange glint. Hai Lan frowned as he spoke in a low voice. Madam, you can't trust this lass. So many doctors and pharmacists are unable to do it, how could a lass like her do it? Madame Huang Xi muttered to herself for a moment before spitting out a word, all right. Madam. Hai Lan. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose as she smiled faintly. Of course, I have a condition. Madame Huang Xi replied, if Miss is really able to resolve my fate for so many years, I will agree to any condition. Madame thinks too highly of me. Yiqing Luo shook her head. I'm not sure if I can completely resolve the poison in Madame's body. Before she could finish her words, Hai Lan had already cried out sharply, Madam, she's a liar. You must not use your own body as a joke, you can't trust her. Hai Lan. Huang Xi Fu Rao calmly glanced at Hai Lan, stopping his words. Her vision looked towards Yiqing Luo. Then what condition do you want to discuss with me? I can guarantee that you can at least live for a period of time. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as her voice was firm and decisive. Madame Huang Xi laughed lightly, her elegant temperament was like a blooming orchid. She asked, then, what's your condition? I need cinnabar. Yiqing Luo replied. Cinnabar. Madame Huang Xi was slightly astonished. Why does Miss like cinnabar? Madam, because she's so daring, she actually wants to go to Devil Head City to kidnap the bride. Zhu Sha jumped next to Huang Xi Fu Rao and directly betrayed Yi Qing Luo. She wants me to bring her to Devil Head City. Madame Huang Xi was slightly stunned. Bride kidnapping. She seemed to have come to a realization. 3 days from now, it will be the wedding ceremony of the Lord of the Devil Hall and Dizun, Great Rao. Are you thinking of snatching Dizun away? Zhu Sha nodded her pig head repeatedly. Madam, you also find it unbelievable, right? Why is she so stubborn, to actually want to snatch a man from Lord Demon Palace? If you don't know how, then don't say anything. Yi Qing Luo casted a glance at Zhu Sha. I can ask Madame Huang Xi for you and I can also abandon you. It's not that I can't do without you. She said, I'm going to kidnap the bride because I want a venerable sovereign. It has nothing to do with the demonic palace. What did he mean by snatching someone from the Devil Hall? Ah Xian was originally hers. She was merely returning the Devil Hall to its rightful owner. Madame Huang Xi looked at Yi Qing Luo in astonishment. This girl was really too direct and bold. She had openly expressed her desire for the venerable sovereign's great mercy. If this got out, he was afraid that something big would happen. Madame Huang Xi sighed softly. Miss, the venerable sovereign's great mercy is indeed the idol of all the ladies in the world. But 3 days later, the venerable sovereign is going to marry Lord Demon Palace, so you should give up. The young lady's long and narrow eyes curved into an arc at this instance, revealing a sharp glint. Marriage, have I agreed to it? Chapter 50-68. The young girl, who was as pretty as a painting, clearly had the appearance of a girl next door, but at this moment, she exuded a noble and gorgeous aura. It was a kind of innate nobility, a nobility that emanated from the bones. It was as if he stood above the 9 heavens and looked down on all living beings. Madame Huang Xi's heart skipped a beat. From the moment he saw this girl, Madame Huang Xi knew that this young lady was not as simple as she looked on the surface. Especially those eyes. It seemed to have gathered all the light in the world. Because of this, when the young girl vowed that she could detoxify the poison without the help of the demonic flame flower, Lin Fan's eyes widened. Somehow, he wanted to believe her for once. And at this moment, looking at the girl's expression, she didn't seem to be joking at all. Perhaps, this girl and that Lord Dizun really had a relationship. This thought caused Madame Huang Xi's expression to change in an instant. She restrained her emotions and said, if you want to go to Devil Head City, why don't you come with me? She paused for a moment, then continued, I happen to be heading to Devil Head City to attend this wedding. If you follow me, we should be able to arrive before the wedding ceremony. In other words, if Yi Qing Luo wanted to go to the wedding venue, if he followed her, he would be able to reach it. After all, it was the wedding ceremony of Lord Devil Hall and Lord Dizun. This was a big deal. Ordinary people were not allowed to enter the venue of the ceremony. Even if Yi Qing Luo reached Devil Head City, she still had to think of a way to enter the wedding ceremony. If he followed Madame Huang Xi, it would save him a lot of trouble. Yi Qing Luo didn't put on airs, then I'll have to trouble Madame. It's not troublesome at all, we're just taking what we need. Madame Huang Xi smiled elegantly, she had no intention of hiding her motive. This way, it would be easier for them to work together. Only with a request could both parties achieve stability. The curtain fell on this farce. Zhu Sha was still a little confused. Why all of a sudden did the beauty team up with Madame? Wouldn't he be useless then? Zhu Sha instantly shut herself up. Zhu Sha, why are you still standing there? The clear and melodious voice of a young girl entered Zhu Sha's ears. The young lady who had followed Madame Huang Xi far ahead was now looking at her. His tone was impatient. However, there was not the slightest impatience on his face. It blinked its pig eyes and immediately dashed towards Yiqing Luo. Then, she heard Madame Huang Xi say, "Zhu Sha, his brain is not very bright. How did Miss fall for him? Yes, he is indeed a bit stupid." Yiqing Luo nodded, "Who asked me to only meet this pig in the devil forest, so I can only reluctantly accept it." Zhu Sha. Piercing to the heart. It wasn't just this girl who disliked him. Even Madame Huang Xi despised him. "If you need a mount, I can arrange it for you," Madame Huang Xi said. Zhu Sha's pig eyes widened as his little eyes looked at Yiqing Luo nervously. If she wanted to replace him, he would definitely be treated as the criminal who stole the devil flame flower and be locked up. Just as Madame said, Yiqing Luo smiled slightly. "Zhu Sha is a good one and knows how to repay kindness. Rather than having a mount whose background I don't know, why not let it follow me, at least? It's trustworthy." Zhu Sha was instantly moved to tears. Then, it heard the girl's next words, forcing its tears back. She said, "Moreover, if you're hungry on the way, you can eat a roasted pig or something." Zhu Sha. Till now, she still hadn't forgotten to roast him. He wasn't a pig. Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 5069. Madame's Residence. Yiqing Luo was treated as a VIP and was placed in the courtyard next to Madame Huang Xi's. She even specially assigned a few maids to wait on her. Yiqing Luo directly rejected them. She only wanted the cinnabar and a young lass who knew about medicine, Hai Tang. After all, they were taking what they needed. Moreover, the other party was the first madam with great authority. If she didn't show some sincerity, there would be some friction in this cooperation. After she had settled down, Yiqing Luo directly checked Madame Huang Xi's pulse. After a round of trouble, she made another list of medicinal herbs and asked Hai Tang to take it. Madame Huang Xi was extremely cooperative. Hai Lan tried to dissuade her several times but was stopped by Madame Huang Xi's gaze. Madame Huang Xi's poison was indeed like what the cinnabar said. It had settled in her body and after a long time, it had completely seeped into her bone marrow. Even if she used the method of detoxification to expel the remaining poison, it was of no use. Furthermore, what made Yiqing Luo astonished was, she had no clue about Madame Huang Xi's poison. This was the first time she met with a poison which she couldn't resolve. Yiqing Luo was busy over here. Madame's residence was in an uproar. No one believed it. Based on Yiqing Luo's age, how could she possibly cure Madame's body? The Devil Region's doctors, pharmacists, even the Devil Region's #1 devil doctor were all helpless against Madame's poison. What could a young lady do? Not to mention, there were quite a number of doctors from the outside world who were also helpless. Where did this young lady get her confidence from? She was simply a liar. But unfortunately, that young lady seemed to have bewitched their madam. Or could it be? Madame had already given up hope and wanted to give it a try if there was a chance. Anyway, she allowed that young lady to do whatever she wanted. And she was extremely cooperative. All the maids and servants in Madame's residence were frightened out of their wits. After Hai Tang had collected all the medicinal herbs, Yiqing Luo directly asked someone to throw all the medicinal herbs into a bathtub and asked them to boil a few buckets of hot water. Following that, she asked Madame Huang Xi to go into the inner hall to perform acupuncture. The minute she heard acupuncture, Hai Lan couldn't sit still. "Madam, this young lady. This is just the first time you've met her, this is really not right." At the very least, he had to give them a chance to investigate the young lady's identity. Yiqing Luo didn't have much emotions as she looked at Madame Huang Xiai and said, "If Madame doesn't believe me, then it's not that I didn't fulfill the requirements of our transaction." A person of Madame Huang Xi's status. Even if he didn't trust her, it was normal. Yiqing Luo had no intention to get angry. She put away the silver needles and said faintly, "Then go directly to the medicinal bath." "No problem." Madame Huang Xiai smiled and shook her head, "I'll listen to Miss Arrangements." Madame Huang Xiai had already said so. No matter how anxious Harland was, she did not dare to stop him. In the inner hall, Yiqing Luo speedily performed acupuncture on Madame Huang Xiai. The silver needles she used were all special silver needles that she had refined together with her teacher, the ghost doctor, in the Nirvana realm. When the silver needle pierced Madame Huang Xi's skin, the silver needle instantly turned black. Yiqing Luo's eyes congealed slightly. "Madam, the poison in your body." She hesitated for a moment before continuing, "It doesn't seem like it's just the residual poison that's accumulated in her body. Don't overdo it." Yiqing Luo didn't continue speaking. Based on Madame Huang Xi's intelligence, naturally he understood the underlying meaning in Yiqing Luo's words. Not only the residual poison. This meant that there were other poisons in Madame Huang Xi's body. Trash 7th Young Mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash 7th Young Mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-70. Moreover, it wasn't the poison in Zhou Yu's body. Rather, it was a recent poison. When Madame Huang Xiai heard this, there was no surprise on her face. She slightly lowered her eyes and chuckled softly, "I've let you see a joke." Yiqing Luo shook her head. While swiftly applying the needles, she said lightly, "You and I are strangers before today, it's not to the extent of being a joke." After inserting the last needle into the acupoint, she withdrew her hand and continued, "But, you should have noticed it long ago." Madame Huang Xiai closed her beautiful eyes slightly. When those silver needles pierced into her acupoints, it was actually very painful. However, her expression didn't change at all, as though she was already used to such pain. However, between her brows, there was an unresolvable melancholy. It made her beautiful face look even more charming and pitiful. She was the First Lady, who was in a high position and had great power. Actually, it wasn't as enviable as he had imagined. Madame Huang Xiai laughed softly. "From the matter of the devil flame flower being stolen, I can roughly guess it." She lowered her eyes, and the melancholy in her eyes deepened. "But I still don't want to believe it." Yiqing Luo didn't say much. This was Madame Huang Xi's personal matter. It was not convenient for her to ask further. Wait for the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, then Madame can directly soak in the medicinal bath. Yiqing Luo stood up and walked to the side of the bathtub. The bathtub was custom-made with special silver equipment. The boiling water gave off a white mist. On the side, there was a long table with all kinds of medicinal herbs. Yiqing Luo followed the order and placed the medicinal herbs into the bathtub in an orderly manner. Watching the clear water gradually turn turbid. A rich medicinal fragrance pervaded the entire room. Madame Huang Xiai tilted her head slightly and looked at the young lady who had a calm expression and was doing her work seriously. In her beautiful eyes, there seemed to be some distant thoughts spreading out. He didn't know if it was because of the herbs, or if the girl had used some other method. When the herbs fell into the bathtub, the water was originally boiling hot. It instantly boiled over. Wave after wave rolled forward. Listening to the gurgling sound of the water, his nose was filled with the strong and bitter smell of medicine. Madame Huang Xi's heart gradually calmed down. She glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo as she spoke out in a low voice, "Miss, you say, how much longer do I have left to live?" It depends on you, whether you want to live or not. Yi Qing Luo replied indifferently. Ha, Madame Huang Xi snorted and closed her eyes again. Yes, it depends on whether I want to live or not. She said nothing more. Yi Qing Luo didn't say anything. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Yi Qing Luo pulled out all the black silver needles and placed them into the medicine box that she had prepared earlier. Madam, soak for 4 hours and you can get up. After she finished speaking, she left the room. Inside the medicine box was a medicinal solution that was specially used to decompose toxins. The silver needles were filled with Madame Huang Xi's poison. She took the opportunity to study what kind of poison it was. Back at the courtyard, Yi Qing Luo headed straight into the room and started researching. Zhu Sha looked at Yi Qing Luo's busy figure as she mumbled softly, "Aren't you in a hurry to snatch the bride from Devilhead City? Although, if you follow Madame Huang Xi, you can use the magic ship to reach Devilhead City on the same day, but you should at least be anxious." Hai Tang pulled Zhu Sha back. Miss Mu is also thinking for Madame's health. Since Madame has agreed to let her reach the membrane vegetables earlier, then she will definitely be able to reach there. Her voice wasn't soft when she said this. Apparently, she specially said it out for Yi Qing Luo to hear. Chapter 5071. Her motive was to hope that Yi Qing Luo would try her best to help Madame Huang Xi resolve the poison. Since Madame Huang Xi chose to believe in Yi Qing Luo, now, everyone in Madame's residence could only place their hopes on Yi Qing Luo. Outside the door, Zhu Sha and Hai Tang's conversation. Yi Qing Luo heard it all. His fingers that were holding the silver needle tightened a little. Devilhead City, she naturally wanted to rush over to Devilhead City to look for Ah Xian. Her Ah Xian, she wanted to find out the truth. How did the news of Lord Demon Hall and Overlord's marriage spread out? She was most worried about. Had something happened to Ah Xian? She believed in Ah Xian. And absolutely believed in the relationship between them. But this matter, since this news had happened, there must be a reason behind it. No matter how anxious he was, he could not help it. Right now, she could only wait for Madame Huang Xi to head over to Devilhead City together. But before this, she must gain Madame Huang Xi's trust. Based on Madame Huang Xi's status and power in the Devil Domain. With Madame Huang Xi's help. After entering Devilhead City, it would be more convenient. Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath as she cast aside all the messy thoughts in her mind. She must be serious and concentrate on researching the composition of this poison. 4 hours later, Yi Qing Luo was still buried in the table full of bottles and jars. Suddenly she heard 2 hurried footsteps coming from outside the courtyard. Before the person arrived, the voice was heard, Miss. This medicinal bath of yours is too magical." The usually graceful and elegant Madame Huang Xi's eyes were sparkling as she walked into the room quickly. She was only wearing a simple single piece of clothing. Her wet hair was scattered behind her as it wet her robe, but she didn't mind it at all. She walked into the room and her vision fell onto Yi Qing Luo. "Miss, I feel refreshed now, my body is light as a feather, without any pain at all." She spoke very quickly as she was extremely agitated. A pair of beautiful eyes that were as elegant as orchids were filled with a joyful smile. Hai Lan, who was by the side, was supporting Madame Huang Xi as she looked at Yi Qing Luo with a strange expression. But when Yi Qing Luo looked at her, Hai Lan's eyes turned red as she said, "Miss Mu, it's all thanks to you." After the two entered the room, Harland immediately closed the door. She said, "Ever since Madame forcefully suppressed the poison, her body has been deteriorating day by day. Now, it's almost impossible for her to move, but Madame is the Madame of the Demon Phoenix continent. Her existence is the hope of the demon phoenix continent. She cannot let others know that her body is about to wither. Whenever she appears in front of outsiders, she has to endure great pain to make herself appear normal. But today, Hylon knelt on the ground with a plop. "Thank you, Miss Moo. Thank you, Miss Moo." When Yiqing Luo heard Hylan's words, there wasn't much change in her expression. She allowed Hylon to kneel on the ground and turned her gaze towards Madame Huang Xiai. Madame Huang Xiai, who just came out of the medicinal bath, looked refreshed. Her beautiful and elegant face was stained with a healthy blush. The space between his brows wasn't as dark as before. His body also straightened up a lot. Although it was not a complete recovery. But compared to her previous state, it was much, much better than he had expected. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up into a smile. In the future, soak for 4 to 6 hours according to the prescription every day. Chapter 50-72. Madame Huang Xi's eyes were filled with agitation as she clenched her fists tightly. "Miss, if you have any requests, just tell me. I will do my best to get it done for you." Yiqing Luo looked at Madame Huang Xi's smiling face. It looked like, in Madame Huang Xi's heart, she already had the answer she wanted. Who didn't want to continue living? But previously, there was no hope at all and she had to shoulder the entire Devil Phoenix continent's hope. She gave hope to so many people. But who could support her hope? So Madame Huang Xiai was very tired. Adding on the pain of the poison corroding her body. She couldn't bear it. But now, Yiqing Luo gave her hope. The hope to live on. When hope came, how could she not want to hold on to it? Facing Madame Huang Xi's words, Yiqing Luo didn't stand on ceremony as she calmly nodded her head. "I hope Madame will remember what you said today. When we reach Devil Head City, I will definitely need to trouble Madame Huang Xiai for something." Madame Huang Xi's brows were filled with a smile. "Even if Miss really wants to snatch the bride, I will not refuse." "Madame." When Hylon heard this, she immediately spoke out softly. She was still kneeling on the ground and was completely ignored by Yiqing Luo. At this moment, she couldn't help but open her mouth. That is. Devil Lord. If Madame Huang Xiai wanted to help this young lady snatch the bride, then she would definitely offend. Devil Lord. She took a look at Yiqing Luo and carefully looked at Madame Huang Xiai. "Madam, although Miss Mu can cure you, but Devil Phoenix Continent's current situation is already in a precarious situation. If you offend Devil Lord at this moment, I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous to Madam." Hylan's tone was heavy, filled with worry for Madame Huang Xiai. "I didn't say that I can cure Madam." Yiqing Luo interrupted Hylan's words. Her slender eyes rose slightly as she looked at Hylon faintly. "The medicinal bath is only using medicinal herbs to expel the remaining poison in Madame's body. But there are simply too many poison in Madame's body. This method can only alleviate Madame's pain but not the root cause. Since you can't save the Madame, why should the Madame offend the Lord of the Demonic Palace for you?" Hylon suddenly stood up from the ground, gritted her teeth, and angrily rebuked. Yiqing Luo sneered. "This maidservant of yours is really strange. I've said it from the start, it can only be delayed, not cured." Furthermore, she paused for a moment and changed the topic. "When did I ask Madame to offend the Devil Lord for me?" "You." Indeed, the young girl didn't say anything. However, she had made a request with the help of Madame's kindness. Wasn't it because she wanted Madame to help her snatch Dizun from Lord Devilhole? Harland. Madame Huang Xi's brows sunk slightly as she glanced at her coldly. "Looks like this Madame has been spoiling you too much, to have developed such a rude character." Madame Huang Xi's voice was not considered strict, but it was filled with authority. causing Hai Lan's body to stiffen. Immediately, his legs went soft and he knelt on the ground. Scram! Go to the woodshed and burn for 2 days. Think about what you should do as a servant. Madame Huang Xie ordered coldly. Hai Lan still wanted to plead for leniency. But when she met Madame Huang Xi's icy cold beautiful eyes, all her words were stuck in her throat. In the end, she knelt on the ground aggrievedly, as her voice trembled slightly. This servant accepts punishment. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Di Zun, please be gentler with your love. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Di Zun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-73. Finishing her words, Hai Lan walked step by step towards the door. Taking 1 step, stopping 1 step at a time. Extremely slow. As though she was waiting for Madame Huang Xi to call her back. But until she walked out of the room, Madame Huang Xi didn't say a word. After that, the room door slowly closed. Hai Lan's slender fingers clenched tightly as the expression on her face was covered with a layer of haze. She lowered her head as her peripheral vision swept past the tightly shut room door. In her eyes, there was a faintly discernible murderous intent spreading. But it was fleeting. She lowered her head as she left the courtyard. In the room, Yiqing Luo pulled a redwood chair over as she sat down on another table with a tea set. Looks like Madam isn't that stupid. This sentence was indeed disrespectful. But Madame Huang Xi wasn't angry at all as she sat down in front of Yiqing Luo with a smile. In Mrs. Eyes, am I very stupid? You can say so. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Treating someone who harbors ill intentions as your confidant is indeed quite stupid. Madame Huang Xi's brows drooped as she gave a bitter laugh. That's right. I originally thought that she would be the person I trust the most in this lifetime, unfortunately. If it wasn't someone who was close to her. Who else could do it without making a sound? What if he poisoned her? But now, there was a sunset rain who could actually detoxify her. Instantly, she panicked. That was why, under the influence of a few sentences, she hurriedly exposed her motive. Ever since Madame Huang Xi's poison became more and more intense, almost emptying her body, all her affairs were handled by Hai Lan. Only when there were big matters would be passed to her. And she was already used to Hai Lan's service and care. But unknowingly, she let Hai Lan take charge of her life. Yiqing Luo poured a cup of tea as she pushed it in front of Madame Huang Xi. Soak in the medicinal bath first. I will think of a way to research on the antidote. But everything will have to wait till I go to Devil Head City to investigate clearly before I can help you. Madame Huang Xi smiled slightly. I'm not in a hurry. I've already waited for so many years. A little more time doesn't matter. Her hand gently touched her face as her eyes sparkled brightly, as though it was starry. Now is already very good. I don't know how long it has been. I haven't been so relaxed. Her eyes were filled with warmth. She raised her eyes and looked at Yiqing Luo resolutely. Mu Yu, my life is saved by you. If there's anything you need help with, I will help you. The two looked at each other and smiled. This Madame Huang Xi was indeed an intelligent person. He also knew how to make the most suitable decision. From the moment she chose to believe in Yiqing Luo, he chose to believe everything that Yiqing Luo said. She had this kind of noble and elegant aura that seemed to look down on all living things. Since he had decided to go to Devil Head City to kidnap the bride, it must be because there was a story between her and Di Zun. To be able to make such a haughty and arrogant young lady travel thousands of miles to Devil Head City. This was definitely not. It was all because of his infatuation with Di Zun. The next morning, Madame Huang Xi's troops were ready to depart. By the time Yiqing Luo woke up, Zhu Sha led her to the open-air garden of the madam's residence. Yi Qing Luo saw a huge sail in the middle of the garden. That ship was astonishingly huge. It was 2 stories high. It looked noble and luxurious. A flag was raised high up in the sky. Under the complicated totem symbol, there was a huge phoenix word in flamboyant calligraphy. Zhu Sha saw Yi Qing Luo staring at the ship and explained, "This is our transportation tool, the magic ship. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love." Chapter 50-74. However, only people with status and identity in the demon domain can own a demon ship. Also, according to the level of status, the size of the devil ship and the degree of delicacy are all different. Zhu Sha's tone was filled with pride. The demonic ship has a special passage. If I were to bring you along, we might be able to rush to Devil Head City now. The wedding ceremony is about to end. But if it's Madam's demonic ship, we can reach Devil Head City in the afternoon. Yi Qing Luo nodded as her eyes were filled with astonishment. He didn't expect that the infernal domain already had such a transportation tool. In the outside world, people were still using magical beasts, mounts, and so on. Yi Qing Luo was engrossed in it. She heard an elegant voice coming from behind her. "If you like it, I can order someone to build you a demonic ship after we return from Devil Head City." Yi Qing Luo turned back. She saw Madame Huang Xiai, who was dressed in an emerald dress and looked like a fairy, walking towards her. Beside Madame Huang Xiai, Hai Lan was no longer there. Instead, there was another slightly older woman. Yi Qing Luo carefully sized up Madame Huang Xiai. She looked relaxed and her complexion was very good. Apparently, he had slept well last night. "That's not necessary." Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly as she replied immodestly, "If there's a need, I'll directly borrow from you, isn't that more convenient?" "You sure have a good plan." Madame Huang Xiai couldn't help but laugh. "All right, if you need anything, just let me know." Yi Qing Luo followed Madame Huang Xiai as she boarded the magic ship. The interior of the demonic ship was extremely luxurious and exquisite. When Yi Qing Luo stepped into the boat, she felt as though she was sitting on a luxurious yacht. This ship took the heavenly road, not the waterway. When Yi Qing Luo and Madame Huang Xiai were seated, the demonic ship soared into the sky. The ship sailed steadily. The journey took about 6 hours. Zhu Sha then led Yi Qing Luo to a room to rest. 6 hours later, Yi Qing Luo sat on the outer perimeter of the magic ship, looking at the majestic castles in front of her and the endless stream of horses and carriages. It looked like a medieval castle in Europe. Moreover, under the gloomy atmosphere of the infernal domain, it added a mysterious and unfathomable sense of malevolence. The castles were all hung with red satin, and the double happiness posters were spread all over the city. It added a bit of joy to this majestic and solemn city. Zhu Sha rubbed her head against Ji Yunchu's leg excitedly. "We're here. This is Devil Head City, this is Devil Head City." Then, he poked his head out and looked around. "Look, the whole city is pasted with double happiness. It seems like Lord Demonic Hall really cares about this wedding ceremony. How much manpower, material, and financial resources will this take? Lord Devil Palace is really willing to spend a fortune for Lord Dizun to win his smile." As he spoke, Zhu Sha suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. All the hedgehog hairs on his body stood up. Its body stiffened, as if it had realized something, and it turned its head to its side. The young girl with black hair and peach-colored clothes slightly raised her pink lips. She looked at him quietly with her long and enchanting eyes. Looking and looking, Zhu Sha felt as if she was being strangled by fate, unable to breathe. He immediately changed his words. Lord Demonic Hall is so extravagant and wasteful, it's simply rotten. What you mean is, my Dizun is not worthy of all these. The young girl narrowed her eyes, as her tone was dangerous. Zhu Sha's entire body turned cold. Worthy. Then what you mean is, that Demonic Hall has the right to win my Dizun smile. The young girl once again sent out an interrogation from her soul. Zhu Sha. He couldn't help but slap his own mouth with his hoof. Who asked you to have such a cheap mouth? Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Seventh Miss Who Likes Trash, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with my love. Chapter 50-75. If you don't know how to speak, then shut your pig mouth. Yi Qing Luo glanced at him coldly. Although her words were spoken lightly. But when the young lady shifted her gaze away, looking at the surrounding majestic castle, her pretty face, which was as pretty as a painting, was still a little bit solemn, which was hard to detect. Under the wide peach blossom robe, the young lady's fingers were clenched tightly. It showed that right now, her heart was not at ease. Ah, Xian. Right in this main city. If she saw him, she must throw a tantrum with him. He actually dared to abandon her, running over to meet this whatever devil hole. And even creating the news of marriage with the devil hole. Even if it was fake. This debt must be settled. Yi Qing Luo's mind was filled with different thoughts. She didn't discover. Not too long after the devil ship sailed into Devil Head City. Not too far away, in a devil ship, a pair of treacherous sinister eyes stared unblinkingly at the direction of Madame Huang Xi's devil ship. Just as Yi Qing Luo sensed something amiss, she raised her eyes and looked over. A bam sound was heard. The devil ships collided. The two devil ships were jolted to a halt in midair. What happened? Madame Huang Xi's voice was heard from the devil ship. Madam, our ship has collided with Jiang family's devil ship. The person operating the devil ship replied. Jiang family. Madame Huang Xi frowned slightly. What's the meaning of Jiang family colliding with my devil ship? Let's go out and take a look. While at this moment, Yi Qing Luo, who was standing outside the devil ship, suffered the greatest impact. She didn't know if it was her misperception. When that devil search ship collided, it intentionally collided towards the direction where she was standing. Yi Qing Luo retreated a few steps from the impact. Luckily Zhu Sha reacted in time, using her body to block Yi Qing Luo, allowing her to regain her footing. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows congealed slightly, as she looked towards the devil ship in front. She saw a young lady dressed in a bright and colorful skirt, looking at her provocatively. The young lady was around 16 to 17 years old, and looked rather good. But at the instant when Yi Qing Luo looked over, the expression on the woman's face had already been replaced by panic. She quickly walked to the edge of the demonic ship and said in a soft voice, Madam, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I had to pester the captain and wanted to try controlling the ship. That's why I accidentally bumped into you. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed as she glanced sideways at her back. He realized that Madame Huang Xi had already walked out. She sized up the woman in front of her with interest. Interesting. A woman who was possessed by a drama queen was truly incredible. Miss Jiang. Madame Huang Xi's expression was cold as she looked at the woman in front of her in a dignified manner. This is Devil Head City, even if you want to play around, you should know the situation. The woman immediately lowered her head and obediently admitted her mistake. Shuang, or knows her mistake, Shuang, or will definitely not cause trouble again. This junior is so obedient, and his attitude of admitting his mistake is also good. No matter what, Madame Huang Xi could not hold on to it. But when Madame Huang Xi just walked out from the boat, she saw Yiqing Luo flying out from the aftershocks of the collision. If it wasn't for Cinnabar, the young girl's small body would probably be heavily injured. If she wanted an explanation for Muyu, if this spread out, then it would mean that Madame Huang Xi was unforgiving, making things difficult for a junior. But if she just let it go like this, Muyu's grievance, who would shoulder it? Just as she was thinking about how to choose, the young lady dressed in peach blossom robe curled her pink lips as her voice was gentle. Since you know you're in the wrong, then let it go. Madame Huang Xi looked at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo gave her a gentle smile, and after that, her vision looked towards the woman on the demonic ship as her lips curled up indifferently. Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-76. But eldest Miss Jiang. The young girl's voice was still soft and gentle, but the words that came out of her mouth were incomparably sharp. If you are stupid, then don't come out and make a fool of yourself. Not everyone is as kind-hearted as Madam. Just a few words of, I know I'm wrong, and I'm sorry, will make her forgive your stupidity. We are not your mother, we have no obligation to tolerate your stupidity. You. Jiang Shuang'er's eyes widened in anger as her jade finger pointed at Yiqing Luo. What thing are you? How dare you insult me? Yiqing Luo casually used a look like she was sizing up goods as she scanned Jiang Shuang'er from head to toe. To tell the truth, eldest Miss Jiang doesn't like to hear it. You slut. Jiang Shuang'er suddenly leapt up and leapt onto Madame Huang Xi's magic ship. Yiqing Luo noticed that when Jiang Shuang'er leapt over, an extremely oppressive energy was emitting from her body. That energy didn't seem like profound energy, but it felt the same as profound energy. In the air, there were layers of ripples, following which, it spread towards her. The feeling of danger approaching made Yiqing Luo's expression congealed slightly. This was the magic that was used in the magic region. It was equivalent to their profound energy, it was the same logic. Only there was a slight difference. The incoming magic chi brought along an undetectable killing intent. Yiqing Luo's slender brows knitted tightly as a glint of astonishment flashed past her eyes. She and this eldest Miss Jiang had no enmity, and this was the first time they met. Why? It seemed that the eldest Miss Jiang had come for her. Colliding with the ship was the same. And it was the same now. As though she couldn't wait to kill her. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to take out her broadsword, a soft hand was placed on her arm. Following that, she was pulled back by a few steps. A slender figure stood in front of her. Madame Huang Xi waved her sleeves as she blocked the incoming magic chi. Eldest Miss Jiang. Madame Huang Xi's tone was tainted with a tinge of anger. Miss Mu is on my ship, so she is my esteemed guest. Eldest Miss Jiang jumped onto my magic ship without any explanation and attacked my esteemed guest. What logic is this? Her tone was filled with aggressiveness. How could the young Jiang Shuang'er withstand such an imposing demeanor without being angry? Jiang Shuang'er's face suddenly turned pale. The demonic power backfired, causing her to lean against the edge of the boat. Madam, it's her, she humiliated me. You were the one who crashed into the ship first. Do you think you're in the right? Madame Huang Xi snorted. So this is how the Jiang family teaches their daughter. This madam would like to seek guidance from Madame Jiang. Madame Shuang knows his wrongs. When she heard that her parents were involved, Jiang Shuang'er was so scared that she fell to the ground. Shuang'er was just angry, and couldn't think straight. In terms of power and status. The status of the First Lady was much higher than that of the Jiang family. However, the news of Madame Huang Xi being poisoned had caused her prestige to be greatly reduced. But this does not mean. How could the First Lady tolerate other families stepping on her head? Madame Huang Xi sneered as she looked at the opposite magic ship. Bring your young miss back and help me pass a message to your mistress. I will pay you a visit in a few days. Saying that, she didn't care about Jiang Shuanger's grievances and her submissive tone. Madame Huang Xi didn't bother about it as she pulled Yiqing Luo's wrist. Miss, let's go in. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-77. Yiqing Luo followed Madame Huang Xi into the ship and turned back to take a look at Jiang Shuanger. But it met the vicious haze in the lady's eyes. She frowned. How is this eldest Miss Jiang's reputation in the Devil region? Madame Huang Xi shook her head. Hai Yun, who was standing beside her, said, Eldest Miss Jiang's reputation is not bad. She is well educated and her innate talent is very high. She is able to stand firm in the Jiang family. This was the reputation on the surface. She paused for a moment and continued, but eldest Miss Jiang is after all Castle Lord Jiang's daughter, so the outside world will give Castle Lord Jiang some face. From what I understand, this eldest Miss Jiang was raised in a pampered manner and her temper is very bad. Bad temper, I can tell. Yiqing Luo was more curious about. Why did Jiang Shuanger have enmity towards her? She didn't seem to know anyone in this devil domain, right? This inexplicable hostility was truly unfathomable. If that Jiang Shuanger comes to find trouble with you, tell me. Madame Huang Xi patted her hand. Yiqing Luo smiled and nodded. This interlude ended just like that. But enemies were bound to meet. The devil ship stopped at the place where Devil Head City docked specially for devil ships. Yiqing Luo and the rest just walked out of the hole. Jiang Shuanger and the rest happened to walk out of the hole. Just like that. They met on a narrow path. Jiang Shuanger stared at Yiqing Luo as she bit her cherry lips. But she was a little afraid of Madame Huang Xi, so she could only control her temper. She pinched her fingers as her eyes turned red from the pain and walked towards Madame Huang Xi in quick steps. Madam. I'm really sorry earlier, Shuanger shouldn't be so rash. Her voice wasn't loud but it wasn't soft either. Now was the eve of Lord Demon Hall and Overlord's wedding. The Devil Ship's hall was filled with people from various continents in the Devil region. When he saw this scene, he immediately turned his gaze over. Jiang Shuanger's eyes were red as she crossed her hands and bowed towards Madame Huang Xi. Madame is magnanimous and forgive Shuanger's rash actions. Shuanger will definitely turn over a new leaf. As she said that, her voice started to choke. From this look, it seemed as though Madame Huang Xi was bullying a young lady. This was probably Jiang Shuanger's purpose. Madame Huang Xi's expression was slightly cold. Her beautiful and elegant face was covered with a layer of coldness. Eldest Miss Jiang, I have already said what I should say. What is the meaning of this? Madame's health isn't good. Shuanger doesn't want to make Madame angry. Jiang Shuanger sniffed aggrievedly. Shuanger made Madame unhappy just now. Shuanger has always felt guilty. Shuanger just hopes that Madame won't harm your health because of Shuanger. She pursed her lips and looked at Madame Huang Xi with an aggrieved expression. Madame Huang Xi, I'm sorry. Saying that, she knelt down in front of Madame Huang Xi. He cried, threw a tantrum and knelt down. How would others view Madame Huang Xi? Madame Huang Xi did not expect Jiang Shuanger to make such a move. She frowned. Miss Jiang, what are you doing? When did I say that I would be angry because of you? But. Jiang Shuang'er bit her lower lip, her voice trembling. The surrounding people all had different looks in their eyes as they stared at them and discussed in low voices. After all, no matter what race, gossip was human nature. Moreover, it was gossip about the First Lady. They must eat melons. Hai Yin took Madame Huang Xi's arm and calmed her down. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash 7th young mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 5078. Madame Huang Xi looked at the lady who was kneeling in front of her. Her eyes were misty with tears, as though she had been wronged. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. She looked at Jiang Shuang'er indifferently and was about to speak. Suddenly, a fair and soft little hand blocked in front of her. After that, she saw a peach-robed young lady slowly walking towards Jiang Shuang'er. Just like that, she stood arrogantly in front of Jiang Shuang'er. The person who Jiang Shuang'er was kneeling on had become Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo looked down at Jiang Shuang'er from above, with her eyelids raised, with a sense of nobility. Jiang Shuang'er's words were all stuck in her throat. She raised her head and looked at the young lady in front of her, as her cheeks instantly turned hot. This slut. She actually made her kneel on her knees. She wanted to stand up. But the surrounding were all onlookers. If she stood up, the plan would have failed. Jiang Shuang'er was so angry that she kept cursing in her heart. However, the young girl with black hair and peach-colored clothes was smiling brightly. Like a blooming flower, in full bloom with a dazzling charm. Her pink lips curled as she looked at Jiang Shuang'er indifferently. I'm afraid the person eldest Miss Jiang is apologizing to is the wrong person. She straightened her body and crossed her arms. Her posture was disdainful and a little lazy. The person you almost hurt is me. The person you almost killed is also me. Madam saw that I have no power and could only let you, the eldest miss of the Jiang family, bully me, so she became the embodiment of justice and stood out to say a few words for me. Whether or not to forgive you, I should be the one asking. How did it come out from eldest Miss Jiang's mouth? It became. Madam is not willing to forgive you. The young lady's words were clear and her voice was clear. Just a few sentences and she had directly removed Madame Huang Xi from the picture. It became a dispute between the two young people. You, what nonsense are you talking about? Why would I kill you? Jiang Shuang'er didn't expect Yiqing Luo to stand out at this moment. She stuttered and immediately denied, I just want to apologize for my earlier actions. If you want to apologize, it means that you know that you were wrong when you tried to kill me with the demonic ship. Yiqing Luo directly snatched over Jiang Shuang'er's words, the person who almost died because of your mischief was me, so. You should apologize to me, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Jiang Shuang'er's eyes reddened. The surrounding people were stunned when they heard this. The eldest miss of the Jiang family actually used a demonic ship to ram people? It was no wonder that the lady was so angry. Those who originally felt sorry for Jiang Shuang'er and whispered that Madame Huang Xi was unforgiving had changed their tune. Jiang Shuang'er had never experienced such humiliation before. Her face turned red, and it took her a long time to say, aren't you fine? Didn't I apologize too? Why don't you let me go? Oh, I'm fine, so you're not wrong, right? If something happens to me, does that mean I deserve it? Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. Her smile was bright and beautiful, but there wasn't a trace of emotion in her eyes. Your apology doesn't mean that I must accept it. Also, if you want to apologize, figure out who you're apologizing to and show your sincerity. Instead of. An apology is used by you to put on a show, trying to make use of the innocent crowd to clear your name, and then help you to force Madame Huang Xia to forgive you? The young lady's words were sharp and forceful. So sharp that Jiang Shuanger's eyes turned red and her face flushed red. After saying these words, Yi Qing Luo's lips curled slightly. I don't really want to forgive you, so... Since you're so guilty, then continue to kneel here. Chapter 50-79. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled up even more, her long and narrow eyes curved into a cold arc. Who knows, after kneeling for a long time, I might choose to forgive you. She said, Miss Jiang, you feel guilty so easily. I guess, you won't be willing to get up without my forgiveness, right? Jiang Shuanger. What an aggrieved feeling. The young girl was very direct. She used her previous words to rebuke her. How could she say no? But, was she really going to kneel until the girl forgave her? If he really did that. She was afraid that she, Jiang Shuanger, would be a joke in Devil Head City. Jiang Shuanger clenched her fists tightly as her bright red eyes stared unblinkingly at Yi Qing Luo. In the eyes of outsiders, Jiang Shuanger seemed as though she was shocked by Yi Qing Luo's words, as she couldn't believe it and was extremely astonished. But Yi Qing Luo and Jiang Shuanger's eyes met. He could clearly see the warning and anger in the man's eyes. Then, Jiang Shuanger's eyelids rolled and she fell back weakly. Eldest miss, eldest miss. The maidservants of the Jiang family immediately helped Jiang Shuanger up and called out to her in panic. However, Jiang Shuanger kept her eyes closed and remained motionless. Then, after a period of chaos, Jiang Shuanger was carried out of the hall of the demonic ship by the people of the Jiang family. Yi Qing Luo, she felt like laughing. Let's go. Madame Huang Xia patted Yi Qing Luo's shoulder lightly and then gazed towards the direction where Jiang Shuanger and the others had left. She paused for a moment, then said, Let me handle this kind of thing. You've just arrived here, and if you make enemies, it won't be good for you in Devil Head City. Madame Huang Xia could naturally tell. The young girl's actions just now were to help her out of this predicament. He didn't want her to be involved in the Jiang family's matter. The girl had already helped her a lot. If she wanted to repay the young girl, she should protect her well. However, he didn't expect that the young girl would still protect him. Yi Qing Luo smiled indifferently. The barefooted are not afraid of the shoes. You have a lot to bear, but I don't need to worry about the consequences. In any case, she wouldn't be able to stay in the infernal domain for long. Moreover, she had come to find a Xian. This meant that he would definitely ruin this unprecedented and grand wedding ceremony in the demon realm. At that time, wouldn't they still become enemies? Therefore, it didn't matter. I don't want other things to get in the way of what you want to do. Madame Huang Xia smiled elegantly. You don't have to worry too much about me. I am after all the First Lady. Even if the Jiang family wants to stand on my head, they will have to see if they have the qualifications. The two looked at each other and smiled. He didn't mention anything about the Jiang clan again. Yi Qing Luo directly followed Madame Huang Xia and stayed in the palace which the Devil Hall had arranged for Madame Huang Xia. He entered the main castle of Devil Head City, which was also known as the Devil Palace Castle. Yi Qing Luo sized up the surroundings. A palm-sized night pearl hung at regular intervals in the complex and dark castle, illuminating the entire castle. But in the style of this castle, Yi Qing Luo felt even more strange. Who would have thought that the Devil Hall actually liked this style? As for Madame Huang Xi's palace, it was slightly more lively. It wasn't that dark. After Madame Huang Xi and the rest had settled down, Madame Huang Xi found Yi Qing Luo and asked, Miss Mu, I intend to go to the main hall to meet the Devil Hall. Do you want to travel together? Devil Hall. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as her lips curled. of course I want to go. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. 7th Miss Who Likes Trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-80. That was the devil hall that coveted her man and even announced that they wanted to marry her man. She really wanted to meet him. Look at what that bastard looks like. Huang Sifu nodded and smiled as elegantly as an orchid. She pulled Yiqing Luo's hand over and patted it gently, but this is after all the demon hall's castle, so don't be too rash, understand? Yiqing Luo lazily pouted her pink lips. I'm following you over, so naturally I'm representing your first husband Rao's face, so I won't mess around. If it was her. Naturally, she was fearless. Anyway, the ultimate goal was to find Dmo Xian. But now, she was following Madame Huang Xi to meet the devil hall. That was Huang Sifu being forgiving. If she did something, everyone would only believe that this was done under Huang Sifu's mercy. No matter what, he couldn't cheat Madame Huang Xi. Madame Huang Xi's expression softened. She lowered her voice and said, if there's a chance, I will help you ask for an audience with the Overlord. Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Was Madame Huang Xi trying to help her to mess up that devil hall's Grand Rao's wedding ceremony? He was only going to greet the Lord of the Demon Palace. Madame Huang Xi only brought along her personal maid Hai Yun and Yiqing Luo. 3 people had just left their room. A servant dressed in black came forward. Where would you like to go, Madame Huang Xi? Do you need me to accompany you? Madame Huang Xi's expression didn't change as she spoke indifferently. Lord Devil Hall is about to get married. This madam would like to go and greet Lord Devil Hall, as well as give him a wedding gift. She glanced at Hai Yun. Hai Yun respectfully held a tray with both hands, which was covered with a red velvet cloth. After the servant sized up the 3 of them, he had a respectful expression on his face. Recently, the Demon Palace Lord has been busy with the wedding matters. I don't know if he has the time right now. Allow me to report to him so that Madam doesn't have to make a wasted trip. Madame Huang Xi waved her hands, indicating for him to report. After the man left, Yiqing Luo tugged Huang Sifu's sleeve. This place, has it always been like this? The servant was obviously waiting at the door. The feeling he gave Yiqing Luo was like watching them. Moreover, it restricted their freedom. She was going to inform Madame Huang Xi so that she wouldn't have to waste her time. In reality, Madame Huang Xi still needed the permission of the Devil Hall's Great Rao before she could meet him. As her first husband, Madame Rao Huang Xi had to do this. Not to mention the others. This Devil Hall. Were they guarding against all the people who came to Devil Head City like wolves? The Devil region is not peaceful. It is normal for Lord Devil Hall to act this way. Huang Sifu was already used to it. If they were to come to the Devil Phoenix continent, I would also be worried. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands. I don't really understand the concerns of the higher-ups. The 2 of them faced each other. The servant had already come over. He bowed respectfully towards the 3 of them. Lord Devil Hall happens to be free. Please follow me. Madame Huang Xi nodded slightly. The 3 of them followed the servant, turning here and there. The overall style of the castle leaned toward the dark style. But after Yiqing Luo stepped into the guest hall, it was a completely different scene. The entire hall was magnificent, grand, and luxurious. A slender figure sat lazily on the main throne. That throne seemed to be made out of black stone, sparkling with black rays. The lady was dressed in a black feather-long dress, dragging on the ground, showing off her slender and graceful figure. The moment Yiqing Luo entered, at first glance, she met that lady's eyes. Chapter 50-81. The lady's looks could topple a city. That kind of city toppling, cold elegance, with an arrogant nobility. Her beauty. Not like Huang Sifu's elegance. Not like Yi Qing Luo's flamboyant beauty. But a kind of exuding a noble charm which made one submit to her. Yi Qing Luo congealed slightly as her long and narrow eyes raised frivolously. This devil hall was not bad looking. It wasn't a big white lotus, but a black lotus. Devil Hall Lord, long time no see. Madame Huang Xi went forward and took a look at Hai Yun. Congratulations on Devil Hall Lord's wedding, this is a token of my appreciation. Hai Yun immediately presented the gift. The elegant and languid lady slowly straightened her slender waist. A head of jet black hair was like a waterfall, cascading down her back. It added a few more points of charm to her noble and cold elegance. Madame Huang Xi has spent a lot of money. Her clear and melodious voice was extremely pleasant to the ears in this hall. I am already very happy that Madame is able to attend my wedding. Madame Huang Xi laughed lightly. I didn't expect Devil Hall Lord to marry the Overlord. She pretended to be casual as she continued, the Overlord rarely steps into the Devil's domain and it was because of you that he agreed to marry you in the Devil's domain. Devil Hall de Ren laughed softly as his brows were filled with a chilly smile. Devil Hall Lord was obviously delighted by Huang Sifu's words. She raised her hand and her soft wrist curled up as she gently brushed a poppy hairpin on her hair. I didn't expect the Overlord to be willing to marry me in the Devil's domain. Madame Huang Xi naturally understood that obvious action, that hairpin is a gift from the Overlord. It suits Devil Hall Lord very well. The Lord of the Demon Royal Hall lowered his eyes and smiled. His noble and cold temperament became much more relaxed. He personally made it for me. Although there are some flaws, it is a token of Dizun's sincerity. I have always worn it. The Overlord and Devil Hall Decay are really affectionate. Madame Huang Xi's eyes revealed a glint of envy. This glint of envy was appropriate. After being noticed by the Devil Hall, Madame Huang Xi lowered her eyes. This madam has always heard of the legends of Dizun, and is extremely respectful towards Dizun. I wonder if Lord Devil Hall can introduce me to him. This sentence made Yi Qing Luo stunned for a moment. Naturally, she understood. Madame Huang Xi was trying to help her. However, in this way. If she met Dmo Xian and brought Lin Mo Xian away. Would this Devil Hall spare Madame Huang Xi? Not sure if it was Yi Qing Luo's misperception. She always felt that. Ever since she entered the main hall, the eyes of the demonic hall had been on her. Madame Huang Xi pretended to be polite. When the Devil Palace was replying to Huang Sifu's words and also displaying their affection, he intentionally took a glance at her. Although his gaze was very indifferent. But he could also see that there was a hint of provocation. Yi Qing Luo. Was it an illusion? Why did she feel that there were so many people deliberately targeting her in the demonic domain? That Jiang Shuang'er was. This demon hall was the same. Was it an illusion? Or, this demonic hall had already recognized her identity? Impossible. She was still in disguise as Mu Yu. Although Ji Wuhua, that fellow, looked a little unreliable. But there was absolutely no problem with his disguise. As long as she didn't use Ji Wuhua's medicine and remove the disguise. At least for half a year's time, she would be able to wear this dainty, girl-next-door face and not be discovered by anyone. Chapter 5082. She wasn't acquainted with the demonic palace. How could the demonic palace possibly detect her identity? But, the demonic palace provoked her and even intentionally flaunted their love. What was going on? Could it be? She wanted to snatch the bride. And it was spread to the ears of the demonic palace by the people in Madame's residence. Yi Qing Luo felt that there was a high possibility of this. Then now, Madame Huang Xi mentioned to introduce her to the overlord. Perhaps it had already made the demonic palace suspicious of her. To tell the truth, when she saw the demonic palace flaunting her hairpin, Yi Qing Luo's heart wasn't affected at all. Her Xian would never make hairpins or accessories for other women. She was certain of this. Moreover, her Xian was such a perfect man. There was no flaw in anything he made. Ha! This baby would not get angry over such a small matter. I'm so sorry, Madame Huang Xi. The demonic palace slowly placed her hand in front of her as she gave a cold and noble smile. The overlord is busy with the wedding with me these few days and doesn't have time to meet guests. She paused for a moment as that pair of clear beautiful eyes casually swept past Yi Qing Luo and said, "Tomorrow, Madame will still be able to meet you." Madame Huang Xi only gave a regretful smile. That's right, tomorrow is the marriage ceremony between the demonic palace and the overlord. At that time, I'll have to trouble the demonic palace to introduce you. Of course. The demonic palace smiled lightly. Madame Huang Xi's motive had not been achieved and she was about to bring Yi Qing Luo away. The demonic palace's voice suddenly rang, "This young lady. Who is she? Why have I not seen her around, madam?" The demonic palace's gaze shifted onto Yi Qing Luo as his eyes were filled with probing and judgmental, as well as some arrogance. Madame Huang Xi's words were stuck in her throat. She took a look at Yi Qing Luo and hurriedly said, "This is my accompanying doctor." She gave an ashamed smile. "My health is deteriorating day by day. Now even when I travel, I have to bring this doctor along. I've let the demonic palace laugh at me. Madame's doctor is really young." The demonic palace gave a profound smile, "But since Madame has given her all for the demon phoenix continent, you should consider your own health." Madame Huang Xi nodded her head. "Thank you for your concern, Lord Devil Hole." The Devil Palace's vision was still on Yi Qing Luo, not shifting away at all. The atmosphere was somewhat stiff. After a long time, it was so long that Madame Huang Xi was already thinking of an excuse to leave. The demonic hall finally spoke. "Recently, this demonic hall has been busy with the wedding, and my body isn't feeling well. Why don't—" Her red lips curled up and she spoke in a mysterious tone, "Madam, are you willing to part with your treasure and lend this young doctor to me for a day?" As soon as he said that, the three people in the room all stared at the Devil Hall in astonishment. Madame Huang Xi's expression froze for a moment, but very quickly, she regained her elegant and noble smile. "Lord Devil Hall, this," before he could finish. The indolent and cold woman snorted. She stood up slowly. She was wearing a long black dress with crow feathers, like black smoke fluttering in the wind. It made her look even more mysterious and enchanting. This demonic palace is just joking. Why is Madame's reaction so huge? The demonic palace covered her mouth as she laughed lightly. A pair of cold beautiful eyes were flowing with a faint cold glint. Madame really treasures this doctor. Madame Huang Xi's expression didn't have much change as she calmly met the demonic palace's gaze. "Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love." "Seventh Miss who likes trash, Overlord, please be gentler with your love." Chapter 5083. Lord Devil Hall must be joking. Madame Huang Xi pulled Yi Qing Luo's hand. "I just can't leave Dr. Mu. The minute I heard that Lord Devil is going to leave Dr. Mu, I started to panic." She smiled faintly as if she was relieved. "Fortunately, Lord Devil Hall is only joking. Otherwise, I really don't know how to reject Lord Devil Hall." Madame Huang Xi's tone was filled with intimacy. It seemed to have shortened the distance between them. But between the two sides, there was a smile that didn't reach their eyes. This time, the demon hall did not obstruct them at all. He allowed Madame Huang Xiai to pull Yi Qing Luo and the three of them left together. The servants were still waiting at the door. He only left after sending the three of them to Madame Huang Xi's courtyard. He returned to his room. Madame Huang Xi's expression turned cold. Her delicate brows furrowed slightly. Miss Mu, Lord Demon Palace, Does she know you? It seemed like it wasn't just her imagination. That devil Hall, it really seemed like he was targeting her. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. I can't be sure, but what I can be sure of is, I don't know her. Madame Huang Xiai sat down. Her expression was solemn. In the days in Devil Head City, you have to be more careful. Lord Devil Hall seems to have a different kind of enmity towards you. She lowered her eyebrows slightly. I thought she already knew that you wanted to kidnap her at her wedding ceremony, but she didn't do anything. Tomorrow was the wedding ceremony. If the Lord Devil Hall really knew of Yi Qing Luo's motive, how could he possibly allow Yi Qing Luo to be safe and sound? Unless that Devil Hall had already made other preparations. Madam, don't worry. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upward slightly as her long and narrow eyes were filled with warmth. I will be careful, you don't need to worry for me. Madame Huang Xiai sighed softly as she looked at Yi Qing Luo, hesitating to speak. Yi Qing Luo's eyes softened as she chuckled. You want to ask me what's the relationship between me and the Overlord, right? Madame Huang Xiai hesitated for a moment before nodding her head. Although they had not known each other for long. But Madame Huang Xiai still believed in her own judgment. She still believed in Yi Qing Luo. Such a proud girl had come all the way to Devil Head City just for His Majesty. She also had someone she loved deeply. Naturally, he could tell. When Mu Yu mentioned Di Zun, that pair of enchanting eyes blossomed with light. It couldn't be faked. But, today, after meeting the Demon Hall, Madame Huang Xiai was still a little worried. What she was worried about was not whether Mu Yu and the Overlord had that kind of relationship. Instead, she was afraid that Mu Yu had been deceived by His Majesty. If the marriage between the Di Zun and the Devil Hall Lord was true, Di Zun also sincerely wanted to marry Lord Devil Palace Lord. Then Twilight Rain appeared at this time. It would only bring about a fatal disaster. Madame Huang Xiai wanted to tell Yi Qing Luo her guess. But he didn't know how to say it. However, the girl had already curled up the corners of her lips, and her eyes were filled with a smile. There was an unwavering brilliance in her eyes. I have never doubted Xian. Because there was no doubt. There was no need to discuss whether to believe in Dmo Xian. She smiled. Tomorrow, you will understand the ins and outs of the matter. Madame Huang Xiai sighed softly. As long as you have an idea in your heart, you should take note of this. I feel that Lord Devil Palace Lord has an inexplicable enmity towards you, so I'm afraid he won't take it lying down. Seventh young miss who likes trash, Lord Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Seventh young miss who likes trash, Lord Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 50-84. Yi Qing Luo pacified him. I'm in the Demon Hall Castle. If anything happens, it's her responsibility. My current identity is that of your personal doctor, the kind that can't leave me. If anything happens to me in her territory, it's her problem. What's more, tomorrow is her wedding ceremony. If she wasn't stupid, she wouldn't have done such a thing at this critical juncture. That was the analysis. But the reality was, that Devil Hall wasn't someone who acted according to common sense. That night, the other party came to stir up trouble. Moreover, he did it in an above-board way. At night, Yi Qing Luo had just laid down for less than 30 minutes. With his sharp senses, he heard a sound coming from outside the door. The sound was very faint. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she quietly flipped herself up. Under the dim light of the luminous pearl, elongated shadows were cast outside the door. There were at least a dozen of them. "Io, what is he trying to do?" Yiqing Luo didn't believe that those who dared to take action in Demonic Hall Castle didn't have that Lord Demonic Hall's approval. Therefore, these people were specially sent by the Lord of the Demonic Hall to find her. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as her pink lips curled slightly, revealing a cold arc which seemed to be ridiculing and ridiculing. Then, he stretched his body. The secret technique of teleportation, she had already gone straight from her room to the room on the first floor. It was Madame Huang Xi's room. There was no sound in the room. Given Madame Huang Xi's strength, she went to her room. No matter what, he should have discovered her existence. But Madame Huang Xi did not seem to have much of a reaction. Yiqing Luo's heart sank slightly as she took quick steps towards Madame Huang Xi's direction. With the help of the faint light projected from the outside, Yiqing Luo saw Madame Huang Xi's eyes tightly shut, as though she had fallen into a deep sleep. Even if she was near, Madame Huang Xi had no reaction at all. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and checked Madame Huang Xi's pulse. As expected, Madame Huang Xi had fainted after being drugged. Madame Huang Xi was unconscious and Hai Yun was probably the same. Looks like this was indeed the work of that demon hole. It really was a black lotus that was different from other white lotuses. He just didn't play by the rules. Upstairs, a few light footsteps were heard, but Yiqing Luo could hear it clearly. Then, the footsteps became chaotic. "He's not here. Quick, find him." Then, those people started to search around the room. Obviously, everyone in the courtyard had fallen into a deep sleep. Otherwise, those people wouldn't have dared to run around the courtyard so brazenly. Yiqing Luo scoffed. The demon palace only made them fall asleep. This meant that he did not intend to take Madame Huang Xi and the rest's lives. The footsteps gradually approached Madame Huang Xi's room. Yiqing Luo speedily took out a pill and stuffed it into Madame Huang Xi's mouth. Then, he used a teleportation secret technique and quickly left the courtyard. She left very quickly. He didn't find anything. The woman, who had fallen into a deep slumber, slowly opened her eyes after the pill entered her throat. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw an afterimage flash past his eyes. A familiar aura made her completely stunned. His brain, which had been knocked out by external forces, was still a little muddled. But Madame Huang Xi endured the discomfort and sat up. Her vision looked towards the direction where Yiqing Luo had disappeared. She didn't sense wrongly. It was the aura of the teleportation secret technique. It was the teleportation secret technique. Trash 7th Young Mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash 7th Young Mistress, Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.